Order I wasn't that late at a couple of minutes after 6. And welcome to everybody that's here. Let me see if there are any changes in the agenda. I know we have one that's talking about the Centerville culvert, and we need to make a decision. Let's see, I was thinking
The email
of
list.
anything
There
else.
Do you want to go through that or shall I?
So there's a few.
Yeah, we have your email in front of us. Just
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think there's any. This is just supplemental information.
Okay.
Al Spitzer is not here. He's not on. Maybe that's him online. That's not admitted yet. I can't see from here.
See anybody who's
Anyway, Al wanted some time, I know, but he's got to be here to get time.
Okay.
That might be him. It's a slow phone.
That's right. Well, we'll see. If he chimes in, we're happy to have people chime in. We're not horribly over formal here, as people may have figured out. Is there any general public comment? Have anybody up there?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm Donald Gregory Jr.
Yes.
I live on 287 Mason Road, Hyde Park.
Yep.
I have a complaint about the road commissioner.
Okay.
He's a bully, he tried to intimidate me. He's prejudiced. I know he's related to a lot of people in this area. So I'm going to speak my piece.
Sure. So what happened?
I asked for 2 loads of the ditch material that he was bringing to my neighbors. He literally brought them between 300 and 400 yards. It brought me 2 loads. The driver is the ex-husband of Shelby that lives there, and I'm sure you know that, but some of you. They brought me 2 loads and went back, told the road commissioner that I was burying, I don't know, bed springs or something else, burying stuff. So they stopped bringing me anything else. Continued bringing it from Shelby's, which was another lie. The road commissioner called me 2 days afterwards, confirmed that it was me on the phone, and he told me not to effing tell his drivers anything, where to go or what to do. They answered to him and only him, and he answers to nobody. If I want anything from him, it all depends on the hell I ask for. I don't crawl for nobody.
Okay.
I informed them where they were dumping it at Shelby's is over the line. They worked all weekend.
Is over the line
Over
to your property or somebody else's property?
No, man. There's property in between.
Okay,
But there's a stake on every one of the properties in front.
gotcha. Okay.
There's still there on mine and Shelby's, I can't tell you, but the other person's should be. When they back in to unload, they're backing over where the stake should have been. And your own laws, bylaws, or whatever you want to call them, are requested them to have to be 10 feet from the line. He leveled it off all weekend. There was a lot of work to do. Went bought some grade stakes and put it in the new gravel that he leveled, dirt, gravel.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We put it in, put the grade, it's not surveyed, he bought some grade stakes and put them in there. This paperwork says it's supposed to be any construction 10 feet from anybody else's property,
Any
This is-
construction.
any
okay.
roads or whatever you
Okay,
create,
right,
if you are, or whoever. wants
Right,
that.
yep, I got it, thank you.
That was my permit for some fill as well.
Oh, okay,
When he confirmed it was me is when he went off on me. I don't have to tell his drivers where to go or what to do. They answer to him and he answers to nobody. He's prejudiced because his driver is Shelby's ex-husband. I don't know if he still has an interest in the house or her or what. I don't care. It's none of my business. I don't bother my neighbors. They leave me alone. And they should either share the load or nobody. should share it. Simple as that.
well, I think generally, their process is when they start delivering to somebody, they finish with them and then they go to the next one. I mean, that's sort of habitually what they've done. They don't, you
I
know,
have a place you can dump 10,000 yards. They started at my house and it never took that day. Roland's been in my house. You can dump 3 10-wheelers side by side and not hit one. You could put 10,000 yards.
I don't think how much they can put at your house is the issue. The issue is starting at one place and finishing delivering wherever that is, and then doing the next one. It doesn't matter if this one takes 5, then after they do 5, I have no idea what these numbers are. They do 5, and then at the next one, they go on to the next one, and that might be 15, and it might be 1.
You don't think it would be fair to split the loads up between whoever is on the list?
Well, I don't see any reason to do it that
To
way.
make everybody happy and
No, get one job done and then go on to the next one. I mean, I think that's their choice, and that isn't the kind of micromanagement that we're gonna get into with anybody.
well,
You know,
I'm
but that's
up
what
here
they've
at
done.
this meeting, but I'm gonna print whatever this, this meeting, whichever it will be done, I won't put it in the newspaper.
Sure.
Recording
Well,
in
people can
progress.
Watch it too, right? I mean, you can
Well,
just refer people to it. Yeah, well, you'd be surprised how many people watch these.
Yeah, well.
And I'm,
See about the internet.
this is, I don't know, and really, I don't know if you know what the other person, what they're using the fill for. What this says is no residential or commercial driveway or private road shall be constructed within 10 feet of a property line. But I don't know that they're constructing, they're just putting fill there right now that is being used for, I don't know what. I mean, we don't have enough of that information to be able to.
It's road to that 10-wheeler and it's done. That's considered a road, tractor road. He put it in with his tractor, it's as much a road as I got. I got 2 driveways.
Rolly, are you just familiar with the site with the, I'm not, it's not.
He called me.
Yes.
So I went up to talk to Mark. And Mark was on vacation. But he was working in between here and there. I think Ryan was kind of in charge. So I didn't know that, but I called Mark and I said, after the phone call, and I said, Mark, what's going on anyway? Yeah. I could tell by the way Mark was talking.
And he doesn't like you.
Well, I don't know if you want to say that, but
I'm the prejudice.
I said, Mark, I think it was on a Thursday, Mark said he couldn't go up on a Thursday. But he said he would go up the next day. And talk about it, because White Briggs dumped the loader to him. And he said he was dumping over stuff like bench springs and stuff like that. So he told me. So I went up Saturday, I finally got a chance Saturday, I think it was Saturday, yeah. And I looked down over the bank, I went down over the bank. He did have some stuff there, it was off the side, and he had it on his truck at that time. And my feelings is it's up to the rest of the board, but I think in a situation like this, I've been into many times. I think everybody ought to get a piece of the pie because they are taxpayers.
Yeah, but does it matter if you do all of one job and then do the other?
Well,
I mean, that's
the
part of
thing
it, you
is-
know.
The thing is, Susan, with that,
usually not enough.
You don't know how many loads the boys are gonna get up there. I mean, if they give 10 loads to one person, I can see it if it was a mile down the road or a half mile down the road, but being 100 yards, not even 100 yards, I mean, it's really not hard to separate the loads. One truck go to one truck, and everybody would be happy. But, you know, in a situation like this, if they're gonna all dump it in one spot, and he has got a good place to dump it, I mean, there's no problem backing into his place. And he, as he said, they can dump 3 wide if they want it. And Shelby, they're dumping it beside the road, and they're carrying it out back, which that's fine too, but they're putting it out behind the garage up there, Shelby's, I guess, which is a good spot.
She doesn't.
And if we don't have to truck this material for the town taxpayers, it's
Yeah,
excellent,
right,
it's
right.
excellent. But I run into this over this. And, you know, if you can't treat our taxpayers freely and fairly, maybe we gotta take the goddamn stuff and dump it to our vicinities and forget about dumping it.
Well, I was gonna say, that's right. Well, because of course,
The trouble is,
that's,
that's gonna cost. taxpayers.
Exactly.
that's what we did with the pools.
Exactly.
Right.
You know,
I'm
So
sorry.
if
Yeah.
we could come to an agreement. That,
However, I think it is also important that taxpayers treat town workers respectfully. And if they don't, what's that do?
well, I don't know about that, but he treated me very good.
Yeah, but that's
I mean, I.
sort of, it's not been the feedback from some of the other, and it's not just Mark, you know, folks. So that is, being respectful is a two-way street.
Max Driver, he never even spoke to me, Max Driver, goes in the door.
Well, I'm just,
The
you know,
conversation
right,
was, I said, if you had a few loads, keep me on the list, I have a permit for it.
right. So how many loads are you expecting? Because you were saying you could take hundreds. Well, you don't want to take all of it. I mean, then other people wouldn't get it. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the,
It can't be fair, you guys dump it somewhere where everybody's happy. I'm all about that. If you can't split it up and be equal to everybody, dump it in a hole somewhere that I got.
How many loads have you gotten, just for,
I got 2 little loads.
two
That's
loads?
when he said I was burying, I thought he said cars, but he said bed springs, so I was burying.
So that's what Mark told me.
Right.
No, I don't. But then again,
I wasn't.
well, and how much is your neighbor getting? I mean, do you happen to know how much she's,
300 to 400 yards, which man, I used to drive.
but does she need more than that? That's,
oh, I think she's got the same bank because I didn't go out there Saturday.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but
But
that's
it looks like to me, she's got about the same bank you do because it's just.
down over the bank, the swamp comes closer to her property than it does. I know that land is stone wall, it goes all the way around Mason Road and Hemingway Drive.
well, somebody put a lot of work in sometime, didn't they?
So
Stone wall like that.
can I, how does it work? Like, does Mark have a list of like, do people call and say, hey, put me on the list for Phil? Is that how
All you gotta do is start pitching in one spot, man, and I'll tell you what.
they come slaughter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure
Sure,
what it
people
was.
ask and you get one of these.
Oh, okay.
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 So you-
I just wasn't sure of
Yeah,
that percentage.
And it is a savings to the taxpayers. You
Oh,
don't-
100%.
You don't have
Oh,
to
sure.
truck that stuff 4
Sure.
miles down the road or 6 miles down the road. You go just a half mile down the road, don't go
Yeah,
back.
sure, and it's
So is
it's a
this
benefit to the
project-
landowners.
This
to-
project was near their house?
Pitching around your
Yeah.
property.
Usually nearby, usually
Yeah,
nearby
they-
road.
Years that happen, you know that.
Yeah, they don't truck it anymore.
Yeah,
It's not every year, they're near your property.
right.
Every 4 years.
Right,
yeah. Yeah, you never know when it's gonna be.
Got
So
it.
Give somebody 300-400 yards and somebody else, or whoever else was on this list, nothing.
Right, that's why I was asking about the list. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$62,000 a year taxes. I lived here 66 years. I've never been to one of these meetings in my life. I've been.
Well, glad you finally got here.
No, sorry it was bad.
I've been felt compelled, but I want people
Sorry.
respected.
No, well, I don't blame you at all, and I'm glad you have come.
I'm 66 years old, I'm disabled, and I'm not gonna be running up there by somebody over a load of dirt. You guys want to dump it in holes.
Right. That's right.
Can't be fair to everybody, dump it somewhere, I don't care.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
you-
probably no,
you-
so usually there isn't any problem having lists of people that can use it, because I don't know.
Yeah,
Roland,
that's,
what-
I wondered if there
what would
was.
What would it cost if, I'm gonna find out, because I gotta have some road work done. What's the cost of that kind of dirt fill cost?
It's,
I'm just.
where I am, just for the material.
Yeah, yeah.
Is $8.30 a yard.
Yeah,
Then you got
okay.
the trucking on top. of
Yeah,
that,
right,
which is
that's, but,
100.
okay,
What is they get for trucking?
Say $100 an hour at least.
125, I think, is
Probably.
I have the papers around.
right, okay.
Then you gotta put in the trucking, it's
No,
legal minimum hour of trucking.
Sure, right,
You
right,
know,
right.
if you gotta go down the road a half an hour. You're
They
still
were hauling
going
2 loads an hour, I tell you.
what's that?
They were hauling 2 loads an hour, but it was just about a mile and a half up the road.
Yeah, right, they were right up the road.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they always try to do, so it's not very
Just
far.
up the road, that.
Yeah.
Got it.
It ends up
It's
being-
figures that would cut that in half, but if they can't be fair about it. it's a
Right,
problem.
right, it ends up being cost effective for everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
it's-
the taxpayer receives a really good, you know, it's much cheaper than having to buy it, and
It's-
gives us the place to move it, as long as they aren't driving it.
It's
you know,
very
miles,
costly.
they don't do it.
Yeah,
So-
I just push it over the bank, it's not like it's in my driveway or I mean, it's ditch material, there's everything in it from topsoil to sand.
Yeah, right,
to-
right,
It's not.
right.
Soda bottles.
Sometimes,
Sure.
whenever somebody thinks like this,
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, no.
yeah,
no,
it's
that's-
not for my driveway, and I have a big bank, but since I've, lived there in '96. I've been going.
We've been filling it in, right?
Yeah. And I've never been compelled to come to one of these meetings.
That's right.
People have enough to do with their.
But these are important things to take care of. They're really important things to take care of.
They are, if you're treated wrong on your job, I believe standing up for myself.
So what would we like to do?
It's up to you. I'm for sharing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, no, but I'm in this particular situation.
I don't
And-
care
right.
if there's somebody else up there that wants a load, they should get a load to whoever it is. But, price of things today, somebody's trying to improve their property and making it a little bit wider so they can do something. I'm
Yeah,
all for
no,
that,
that's-
but you just can't. Well, you can, but it's not fair
It's not
to
right.
the other taxpayers to just dump it all in one spot.
Right,
But
so
if they need.
so what we need to. What I would just like to know is how much she is expecting, or if she just.
What she's expected.
Well, no, I think it does, because we're talking about how much is there, so it's, so if they each get
Right.
3, then they each get 3. To have a guesstimate from the guys, how much they're
It
gonna
might
have,
be,
and split it equally.
with what they got going on, they're putting out, you got another load this summer.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, there's-
Then it's already will be ordered, so we don't have to do it again.
Yeah, that's right.
And it'll be 4 years before they ditch. Need.
Yeah,
ditches
yeah,
again.
they're
It's
around
not
there,
gonna-
yeah.
it's- I don't expect any this year.
I just would like to
Sand,
see
it's-
everybody, even on the other end of town.
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna truck it. Well, why don't, let's,
Well, one,
if you can do it, you can, or I'll, one of us, talk with Mark and see how much has already gone to the other lady and then that amount.
He was gonna be here. I don't see-
Well, he might be, yeah,
Well,
he got to sleep in here.
I did
They
tell
were up all night.
It-
Okay, okay.
So you knew he was gonna pop to me and bring me some, and he never did.
Well, that's over with, we'll go on now, Donald,
Okay.
All
right.
Well, because of course, I don't know when this was, but of course, last Friday we got all the rain and of course, they aren't in Fridays, but they were in Friday.
Oh,
and Saturday.
that excavator ain't gonna be back here for a while.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
What I see last night and everything that's going on.
I know.
That excavator probably won't be back here for a good 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
If it gets back.
Right. We'll, more rain coming
I think
Thursday.
It's just gonna be told that, no matter where they are, if they're up in the diggings, if they're up, on Battle Road, but we just should share it.
I wouldn't think that would be that hard a decision. Didn't you share when you were a kid? I had you toys.
Depends on the toy and the kid. Oh, God.
No, I understand.
So we'll just have it, we'll just have a chat with Mark about it. Okay, and see what she's already gotten, and it's and assuming that they're still in the area and get at least an equal amount to you.
I don't expect any more this year. They get their hands full. I just wanted to make it from somebody.
Yep.
That told me they didn't have anybody to answer to, because if I can drop this now, I would love to drop this now. But if not, I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
Well, what do you need to drop it? I'm losing, you don't,
I think
I've been prejudiced against, what bullied and tried to intimidate me on the telephone, swore at me. Told me he answers to nobody and not. to
okay, so do you just want to go ahead and put that in the press anyway, no matter what we do?
No, I won't put it in my words, that's why I wanted a copy of this meeting, so it comes from whatever takes place here.
Okay, and so,
Well, I
well,
think I'm hearing, I'm not seeing the headset. I think we should be able to share it, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and to talk with Mark about seeing if,
Have you-
when they are up that way, to make sure that whatever she's gotten, you get an equal amount.
Then that's the end of it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
no,
true.
It's perfectly, and I'll remember, make sure
It's
you
just.
I mean, in general, yeah,
I didn't waste everybody.
we need a different practice.
it's not a waste of time, trust me, it is not a waste of time.
No.
No, you're fine,
They do,
you're fine.
we'll
Yeah.
just, I think what I'm hearing, that the rest of the board members want to share it.
Mhm,
I don't
absolutely.
need a copy. I
Okay.
think you take the word for it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Come to my property and inspect it anytime you want, any of it.
It's fine, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks again.
We're in here. Okay. It's great about these meetings, you never know what's gonna happen.
That's
and I
right.
love it, it actually is great.
That's
It's
right.
it's
Well, I
great
did-
when somebody
I did-
comes in.
I did tell Mark.
Okay, yeah,
I want Mark, no,
yeah, okay. Um,
I couldn't make a decision out there myself.
no, well, yeah, it's not, yeah, this is the kind of thing we all ought to know what's going on and talk about it. And there's a clear policy too that says, here's what we're doing.
Right.
Well,
Steve here for public comment? Are you here for public comment too?
or are you on the agenda? Are you,
I'm not on the agenda.
Okay.
sure, do you wanna go? Then you don't have to stay.
Good, okay. I'm here with a concern and question. Obviously, everybody knows who I am, Steve Morse. I thank you, Sue, for returning my call the other day when I called for a phone number. What I'm here for is obviously had to do with storm damage that we've had since last Wednesday. I happen to be in that swath up there between Chauvins and Menasha, when the storm seemed to hover right in there.
Yep.
For 3 days, everybody laughs at me, but I have one of those rain gauges. I don't know how accurate they are, but I've dumped over 18 inches of water out of that thing since last Wednesday.
I believe that.
I believe it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
In the process, my driveway is partially washed out.
Yeah.
And
Mine too.
my fields for my beef animals has been inundated where I had to move them out because so much water was coming in from the town roads and from above. That they were above their knees in mud, when usually they're just at their hoofs. Okay, it's dry. So I have probably a two-part question. First of all, is there anything that can be put in for the town disaster relief aid to assist somebody like myself to fix my drive and my washout from my underground power and telephone cables due to water coming in from the town roads? I have no roadside ditches up there anymore. It's been prior to,
Is that on your property?
it's on
Or is it a town?
Federal Road.
Okay, no, I got
Up
the,
in front of
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
basically from where Ken Brown used to live.
Yeah.
Down to where the pavement stops.
okay.
They haven't ditched there. Time flies, so I'm gonna say 10, 15 years. The last time they ditched there, Ken Alexander did it. And he did so far on the opposite side of the road. that the select board had to have him come back and put part of the road back in, because he was way out in the middle of Betty Moore's field at that time. Okay. But the point being, is there's no ditches left on going up the hill on the right hand side of the road. The road, water was, from these heavy storms Wednesday, I think Friday,
Friday was.
Saturday night or Sunday.
Alright.
A combination of the three, the water was coming in from the road into the pasture, inundating my culvert to my driveway, which is 18-inch, where it couldn't take any more. And it ended up washing out part of my underground power and telephone, as well as part of my driveway. In the meantime, they said there's no ditch on the way. I have pictures, but you guys obviously are right there, so you can see it. And the culvert, which is a town culvert, I say because Bill Patch put it in, and Ken Harvey replaced it many years ago due to the town damaging it when they did do a ditch clean out. That's plugged. Okay, so water barely trickled through it.
Yeah.
The other day when I called you, Sue, I called to get Mark's number because I need one. And wanted to know if we could have a site visit up there sometime. To look at it. Now, I think this was Thursday, I'm not sure, after the first storm. Then Friday, after the Thursday night storm, I took a loop up around Industry Hill and come back down. I saw so much road damage up there that I knew Mark had his hands full to take care of the emergency situations. My road didn't have a ditch line, but it hasn't had a ditch line to speak of for many years because I've been trying to get the town to ditch it. But priorities come and go, and you know, that's a priority. So I texted Mark Sunday morning, left him a long message, because I kind of gathered he didn't appreciate getting a call concerning town issues on the weekend. So I left him a long message, basically stating that I had driven around town, saw the massive damage that was much worse than mine. That I felt road crew had more important issues to deal with, getting roads back open and safety first, rather than dealing with my issue of no drainage ditch, the plug culvert, which had been there for years. Okay. Never heard back from her. Mark did call me the day I called him and said that he was going to roll it and meet me up there Wednesday or Thursday night this week. Well, that's when I sent him the text Sunday morning and said, let's postpone, because you guys have more fishing. Today, of course, then we had still on Friday and Saturday. So today I had my update coming up back in the town. Give me an estimate to fix my driveway and then cover the riprap, the power line.
And have you sit there, we just got a request to speak into the mic.
Up here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, just the hot seat, so to speak. You don't have to be on top of the mic, just like a foot or
Just
two.
checking to see. But sure,
That's perfect, right there.
So,
Thank you.
after exploring the roads, I said, gee, you know, you guys have way too many important things to do to deal with my issues. We can deal with it later, once Mark gets caught up. Well, then we had the storm, as I say, Friday and Saturday. And that's when it washed out my driveway and exposed my phone cables. And was trying to, you know, route out underneath my house. So I carried rocks in there as large as I could to fill in to kind of rip wrap the water ditch where the water was so heavy. To prevent further washing, and had Mike come up today to give me an estimate. He gave me an estimate of $3,000 to $5,000 to fix the flood damage at my house, my driveway, and the power line. My question is, if the road ditches had been properly ditched throughout the years and the culvert not plugged, town culvert, I don't think we would be in this situation, because my 18-inch culvert almost took it, but it just couldn't take the volume of water. So that's why my first question is there any way that when the town applies or
When you get, I can answer it when, which everything is gonna be FEMA eligible. And they do have a whole separate part that homeowners can apply for assistance.
Yes.
Yeah.
there is
Yes, yeah.
But
Take lots of
believe
pictures.
me, it's paperwork about that thing.
Yeah,
a lot of
it
paper.
is, and
Is that
again, if you take lots
paperwork
of
that you
pictures.
folks assist us with?
Well,
Well, FEMA will help you with the paperwork
Right.
as well.
when
Well,
FEMA,
where does FEMA? Do I have to-
Well, they aren't even close yet, but they will be here. Once, I mean, they're not, I mean, the state hasn't even begun assessing the damage.
no,
But once they arrive, then it will be in all the papers and you'll know they're here and there'll be a lot of, here you go, and if you have claims and when we have all that kind of information. So.
If you guys would like, I've got some pictures here. You're welcome to scroll back through them, just so you can see what I'm talking about.
because you talked to Matt about it.
I talked to Matt, but he never called me.
But yeah, we stopped there last night.
Okay, you did.
We stopped there last night because we were looking at the roads.
Okay, all right.
And Matt explained it to me,
Okay.
what you told,
Okay. So, as I say, obviously I gotta get my eggs back in order there, driveway put back in.
Right,
My
some
power,
pictures of your cows need even water really would help too.
well,
They-
they've
they pastures
moved into the other part, but I've got a picture of the river
In the
Yes.
pasture?
in the pasture that
Right.
is normally not even street.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the sort of thing, right.
And as I said, you're welcome to look at it, but that's my main concern. And then my second question is, after Mark and his crew, they do a great job. I have no problem with them. I think I know most everybody out down there, over there. And if after they get caught up, if we can't revisit ditching that from
All right, ditching your house, right.
where Claude McCool lives now, which is Ken Brown. Down past my culvert anyway, so the water will stay in the road ditch, not come into the pasture. And then it all kind of funnels down to my culvert,
Yep.
which is, you probably saw it. 15-20 feet from the
It
road.
was raining there too when you were there.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute, where you live? Which house do you live in?
I live.
Bell Road?
Just above the shed.
Oh, okay,
Well,
Okay.
Dean Shed,
okay.
then there's
Development road.
Development Road, and then the next long driveway is mine.
Okay,
It's a long driveway, cedar shake at the end of it.
got it, okay.
So, I wish I could sit here and tell you. I got no problem with the $3,000 to $5,000 bill. to fix the
Well,
for the flood.
But Susan probably,
But
Verify.
I can't. It'll break me. Especially since it could have been averted. By having
Well,
ditching it years ago.
Yeah, we get into real shaky ground there.
Well,
yeah,
you're getting in shaky ground, you can look at the records, last time you did it.
Right,
And I think a big problem with it, I've been in construction. Since I was like 20.
few years.
Few years, grew up on a farm before that, so. I guess that doesn't count. Because
Count it
you're a
all.
jack of all trades.
Just count it all up.
Yeah, that's, yeah, it is.
But
You're a little
the
bit-
point being is, when they grade the roads. Very few graders, operators know how to grade a road to keep it crown. So the water runs to the sides rather than down the middle.
Getting to one of Rolly's favorite topics.
Okay, and if Roland, if you maybe looked at the culvert at the end of the drive, right by the town road when we're up there. You look at the upper end, it's about half. You look at the lower end. If you can see that much opening in the culvert. I think you're being exactly. So the combination of all that extra water coming in, I think is what pushed me over the limit.
Yeah, well, unplugging the culvert would be a big help.
Unplugging it would be fine, be a big help.
I mean, that's
and
just an
opening
easy
the
quick
ditch a
step,
little
right,
bit.
right.
The water can't get to the culvert right now because about 2/3 of the way up the hill along my fence line. Instead of the water coming down what was the ditch line, you can see it running right underneath the fence line into the pasture. Then you can see swale headed right
Yeah.
towards my little ditch line in the pasture. So I guess I'm asking if there's any financial help that I can maybe explore.
Sounds like
Through-
it's time for a public announcement from Brzezinski. Today, the Vermont Emergency Management Offices, they're starting to ramp up, like Susan said. They sent a notice to all the towns clarifying that there's two different types of funding, public assistance and individual assistance under FEMA. So under FEMA IA program, which is what you were
Individual assistance.
talking about,
Right, thank you.
they have one little paragraph that said the public assistance does not cover, and that's what we'll be doing with our road claims. Private property, which is reimbursed through the,
Does that look like that?
Yeah, that. That is. Oh, that's the
Yeah,
call.
no.
That's the opening of
That's
the.
better.
10 more words.
Yes, and guys, can Ron just finish what he was saying? It may,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm doing this for your benefit, but also anybody watching, because the damage claims are gonna be an issue for, not you, but for a lot of people on private property. So what Vermont Emergency Management will do is they will work with the towns, and then for individuals under the individual assistance program, tell your residents that are asking about residential damage outside the public right of ways to report their damages to 211. So if you call 211, text 211, you can email them. They're compiling a list of people who they will then reach out to directly under that grant funding.
Okay.
But you have to register with them so
so,
they know
That
you're
makes
there.
sense, because there's a statewide collection system there.
okay,
So their email is info@Vermont
Can you
211.
just send it to him? Right.
Yeah, I'll forward this to you.
okay, thank you.
But info@vermont211.org. Call 211, text 211. There's a whole bunch of ways to get your name and phone number registered with them,
Okay,
and they'll take it from there. But nothing to do with the town. It's just a referral for you or anybody else that has that question.
okay, now. If I get shot down with them people.
Then you'll come back here.
Then I'll
I'm
come back
guessing
here.
is your plan.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Because Roland has a picture there, 3 years old. And that's, I guess my question is, if the town knew that culvert was plugged 2 years ago? I wasn't gonna-
It's been like that since the road job on Pitch Hill. Stop on Pitch Hill and look at the culverts up through there.
Picture, up here, no, I say, I think it's been probably 30 years since I've driven that pitch.
Yeah, it's probably.
Stop, look at the ones down at the bottom.
Same thing?
Well,
Sounds like it, okay.
But, am I making sense with anybody here, or am I just blowing smoke out my ears here?
no, it was definitely on Matt's list. It was on my list after he told me,
Okay,
because you called him and talked to him.
He emailed us all. He emailed all of us,
oh,
actually,
well, thank you.
letting
Yeah,
us
Matt-
know that,
Matt-
well, Matt did, yeah, when you called, so.
Okay. And did he also let you know that I suggested maybe we not meet Wednesday or Thursday because Mark had too many other things going?
No, he didn't say that, and Mark hadn't been able to be at it. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be.
But I just figured that was common sense, that, you know, my issue, even though major to me, was a small piece of the pie that the town deal with, so. And I didn't realize how bad the roads were when I initially made the request.
So actually, we lucked out pretty good.
Yeah, we did it right.
We lucked out really good.
And the guys did a good job last night staying ahead of stuff. They really did.
So that's why I'm here this time.
Okay.
And just looking for some assistance, you know, as a taxpayer. And you know, seeing number one, how I get through the financial aspect of this initial phase, but then if we can maybe address at some point getting the ditches brought back into place and the culverts cleaned out.
It will be addressed.
And I know that the fire departments used to go around and, or at least for the town, and flush out some. I don't know if they still do that.
They haven't, I have talked to Ryan, but I know when I was on the fire department, we stopped that, we stopped cleaning chimneys because of the liability.
Yeah, right.
The liability was,
Well, I know they used the fire department here a couple of weeks ago, when they replaced culvert up Cooper Hill.
okay,
Oh, to test it or whatever?
No, I think they cleaned out some culverts. up
Oh.
there. But that's when they were
maybe
replacing the culvert up there.
maybe to do it.
Yeah, that might have been, but as I said, you know, to me, it's good practice for the fire department and you know, helps out the taxpayer. But,
No,
Okay,
it's
terrific.
a lot cheaper than digging the culvert up,
That's certainly true.
but,
Okay, we're good. We'll see what happens.
but,
He'll send you the information and you can sign up with 211 first and we'll see where it goes and see about taking care of some ditching as well.
okay, and as I say, if I get shut down with 211. I hope the town will close their doors on me to help out in some way, since it came from the town road. I didn't order this raid.
Yeah.
Neither did we.
Yeah, neither did
All right, I want clarification on that, that's all. They want
We're in
whitewash,
charge of this,
just want whitewash.
I will be honest with you, with the town going up there and doing anything, it probably wouldn't happen because. With the culvert, the town owns the culvert.
Yeah.
So we can take care of that. Your dooryard, your wire. That's probably.
Yeah.
Not gonna be in there because the next taxpayer down the road is gonna say the
Exactly.
same thing.
Yeah,
But the culvert belongs to the town,
culvert does and the ditch does,
yes.
and if there's no ditch in there.
Okay, all
water-
right, we
Yeah.
did that. We gotta get going on with our other stuff down here. We got your
Okay,
argument.
we
We
can
understand
go.
what you're saying.
I will
Understand.
get up, and Mark and I will be up, we will get that ditch.
All right, or at least
It
it's-
ain't gonna be until we get other things fixed.
That's understandable, understandable, then if you just give me a heads up when you're coming, I'd love to chat with you.
Well,
And appreciate you here.
thank
All right, so go easy on me.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, we'll be nice.
All right, at least till I get to the packet.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Nice to-
Stay dry. Okay. Everyone was next. Town clerk update.
Use your turkeys out here?
How many are there now?
Well, there's 2 adults, and I'd say maybe a dozen or 2 of little chicklets.
The little ones?
Yeah.
I saw them when I came in.
Coyote food.
Yeah, a lot more. As you all know, and I sent everybody a copy of the update, and unfortunately, Kim's doctors were correct, and coming back to work was not a good thing for her to do. And her immune system, which was already awful, sank below awful. And they wanted her immediately home and away from everything and very concerned. about the potential of her body be rejecting the kidney. I obviously sent her a note. None of us, you can't even imagine to begin the frustration that she's, that she's going through with this. But I think it then confronts us with the reality that, and we've had Krista has done great, stepping up to the plate, learning, doing a lot of things. It's Kim is trying to figure out what she can do from home. We are, here's the box we're in, and it's when she first went out, so she was out in September. Of course, as an elected official, she continues to receive her full compensation and all her benefits while she's out. So that kind of financially boxes us in. We had 13 weeks where we got some help from the insurance that helped cover part of her of her wages. And we have been using that money to give Krista some additional money, an extra $250 a week, paycheck, while she's doing all these jobs and learning how to do all these jobs. Unfortunately, it seems quite evident that I don't know when Kim is ever going to get back. We're going through again with the transition we have and with Ron. So I'm going to meet with. I've asked the staff to meet this Thursday at 9 because Steve is in and Ron is in those days, just to sit down and say, okay, here we are now confronted. No matter how much Kim wants to come back, I think we've got to be realistic about anytime soon her coming back. And again, we're kind of boxed in financially because we are back to, we have been for some time, paying all of her salary and benefits. So we don't have that money to play with, so we're going to sit down and I thought again, just meet with all the staff and we'd talk about it. Here are the duties. You'll see had copies out. It's also having them think about what is it that they need from Ron while we have him round about 25 hours a week. So what are the things that they really need from him with continued training? Like with Jenna, she's really good with all the financial stuff, but she's still learning a lot. Slowly but surely, when we get we've closed this year and we start to do next year's budget, she will benefit and she will want assistance from Ron. And we've been real clear with her that anytime she has any question, don't worry, but call Ron. Okay, don't stress yourself out. They're not asking Ron for assistance. In looking at, and what I think we should have someplace that I got for us is way back when we started this restructuring of what we need for staff. We did here, it wasn't so much job descriptions as here are the duties, and here's what folks are supposed to do. And of course, again, we went to the financial person because when you look at the duties of a town clerk, and part of this, you need to take the people out of it, because it doesn't matter who it is, it's the positions. But when you have a town clerk and a treasurer, here are the jobs they're supposed to do. And previously, the town clerk and the treasurer were doing a lot of the financial stuff for the town, and they're elected and not accountable to us. Oh, yeah, that's when I went when I came on. I said, that's not feeling like a really good plan.
Yeah, that's
That's the packet that you wanted, I think, the second one.
The second, oh yeah, okay.
I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes, this will be just for everybody and for our consumption over some time. So that's when we went to, okay, what we need is a good financial person that the select board hires who works for the select board. And it wasn't because anybody was doing anything. Oh, right. Yeah, no, it was fine, but it's like, excuse me.
Right.
And it was piecemeal here and piecemeal there. And as the town and the budget keep growing, it seemed, okay, there's the first piece that we need to do. And the last meeting I said, I was the idea about drafting up a letter that would go to everybody. And I've got it about 3/4 done. So I may sometime this week just sort of ship it to say, okay, just think about that. I ran the first draft past Ron. He says, okay, you're definitely going in the right direction. But again, with Kim, so it's, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do and how we're gonna pay for it. And again, one of you said Krista she's been good taking a little time here and a little time there. And one of the things I realized I have to be careful of, I have almost my entire life, I have always been a salaried person. So I don't,
Me too.
I don't tend to think in hours. So with Krista, I say, well, just don't come in Fridays. And she'll go, but I need the hours. I go, right, hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So we need to be sensitive because it's no intention of, cutting anybody's hours or pay. So, but have decided that the last week in July, we're going to close the town clerk's office for the week.
Yep.
So that she can just happily take that week and not worry about it. And we talked about wondering if to get her some additional help. And this is one of the things up, with everybody Thursday, but Justin was interested, well, he can maybe pick up some time. So we'll look at all the jobs and figure it out and come up with a plan.
Okay.
So it's sort of like, well, okay, we gotta figure out what to do. I mean, I know we're all terribly sorry and my heart goes out to Kim. I just can't. I
So
can't
what
imagine the
about,
frustration.
I mean, when COVID was a thing,
Yeah.
and we were working, Kim was working remote. Is there, and that
But
was,
she was in.
oh, she was.
The office was closed, but they were in.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Thinking she did stuff
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
So anyway, and she's trying to figure out, we'll muddle our way through it, but just for everybody to know, we're muddling.
Kim's
Hey,
online.
Hey, there's Kim. All right. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling perfectly fine. I'm just
Good.
frustrated about the immunity.
Gonna say frustrating.
So, I have been doing work. So during COVID, we took turns working from home. Kristen Langlois and I did, so that there was just one person in the office. And so I was in the office the last 2 weeks, and unfortunately, not able to be back starting this week. Or was it? Yeah, this week. And I'm working right along at home. Granted, I'm not in the office answering phones or helping people at the counter, but I'm doing everything that I possibly can at home. Kristen and I talked after my doctor's appointment. We talked about closing the office, and her and I decided that she was going to pick a week and she was going to let me know, and I was going to close the office for the week. So we did. We sent out a notice to the newspaper. It's going to be in the newspaper. It's going to be on the new town Facebook page. She's got it posted around the office. It's in, I think I put it in my email response, and I'm not sure if she did yet or not, but the plan has already been put into place that, we're closing the office for her week's vacation that she so highly deserves. Again, back to her and I talking, her and I talked the night of my appointment in depth about, the things that I could do to support her from home. She was really concerned about tax bills and tax rates and all of that. And that's all stuff I'm working on at home. If the office is closed, as far as there's closing at 4 o'clock and there's nobody in the building, I can go into the building because there's nobody there but me, and I can print the tax bills. I can even do that remotely. I just have to message with her and tell her to, load the paper and make sure nobody else is printing, blah, blah, blah. But, there are things that I can do, and I have been doing, kind of right along for the last couple of months remotely, but just doing more now because I've had it with the doctor and I understand my health predicament, but I'm frustrated and I've had it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs, taking a free paycheck, and I want you to understand that. Because that's kind of how you made it sound. And I just have to say, that's not what I'm doing. I understand that I'm not in the office and I'm not, answering phones and helping, at the desk. But Krista and I communicate by email and text and phone all day long. And that's not new. That's been going on for, quite the last few months. Obviously I would rather be in the office because I miss being there. I miss doing what I do, and I miss being around, everybody and everything. And, it's why I like my job, all those things. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm sitting here doing absolutely nothing, because I'm not.
Well, and you're so good at working. If you did nothing, you'd go crazy, Kim. We can't have that.
Well, I am working and I am going crazy. So what does that tell you?
We got to figure out how you can do more work.
So just to clarify, the one thing that they did at my appointment, or not clarify, but update, they took away one of my immunosuppressants, and it's one that does something with my white blood cells. So by taking it away, they're hoping that it's going to jumpstart the white blood cell production.
Okay.
I have labs again on Friday. I actually was going to drive down to Dartmouth specifically to do these labs, because the last time it took Copley like 4 days to get half of the labs to Dartmouth and 7 days to get the other half. And once everything was at Dartmouth, there was a lab that Copley just conveniently forgot to do. And I'm sick of dealing with that. But after the storm, I just don't know. I mean, I'm sure the interstate will be back up and running. I just don't know what the local roads are in Dartmouth, and I'd have to research that, so I'm not driving down there only to get turned around at 2 hours,
Yeah. I expect by Friday, well, depends on what happens with rain the rest of the week, doesn't it? Yeah, but if there
Right.
isn't a lot more rain, you should be, and the interstate's back open again already, so.
Yeah, I saw that. I want the results. I want to know that what they've done is working. It might not be where they want it, but it's headed in the right direction rather than up and down,
Wrong
up and
direction,
down, up
right.
and down. So I'm considering that drive on Friday just so that they have those results within 2 hours rather than 7 days.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know
Okay.
that they will send me back to work when I'm probably closer to like 50% back to where they want me. I'm not even there. I'm like 2%, not like 50 or 60. So they will be much more comfortable as long as I'm wearing a mask and, just protecting myself. They'll be much more comfortable when I'm like at least halfway where they think I'm going to be my new normal for the rest of my life.
Right.
So they'll let me know when I'm there, with my ongoing labs. And it sounds like they're going to check on a more regular basis just to track the potential or possible hopeful improvement.
Right. Well, that sounds hopeful. Okay.
Well, I wanted that because the way that you were talking, you made it sound like I was dying and quitting and leaving and leaving everybody high and dry. And that is absolutely not what I'm doing.
Well, we don't want you to die either.
I don't either. But when they took that one medication away, they did give me the what to expect with kidney rejection discussion, because these 2 immunosuppressants are going to be pills that I take the rest of my life. And if they take one away,
Yeah.
I'm over the line of this is more probable to happen versus it, potentially can be an issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. A difficult
So-
choice to make, but. Okay. And we got any questions for Kim? We're good?
No, thank you for clarifying, Kim. I thought you did some stuff from home, so thank you.
Yeah, I've been working every day, all day, all week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Take care of
You're
yourself.
welcome. I'm staying on the line.
Sure, sure. All right. 3 is a letter request. What's a big sigh, Ron?
Richard, finally, you're on.
I know.
I was doing his side.
I told my wife that I was in the beginning of the agenda. So.
This is still the beginning.
I don't have those, many years I've gone to
You said.
The planning board meetings and zoning board and all that, and late nights, I'm less used to it. So.
Well, and you love it when the public shows up, but it definitely, you can't, there's no way to plan for that. It just happens, which is good. So what can we do for you?
Okay, for me and it's for the planning commission and for the town, is basically I am on the planning commission, have been for a couple of years, and as background, I used to be a retired professional engineer specializing in traffic. I'm on the town representative along with Greg Paulus for the Vermont County Planning Commission. I'm on the Transportation Advisory Committee for the Planning Commission, representing the town. And so I got involved with the town and Ron and the county as far as looking at North Hyde Park and potential zoning modifications. And as we've been doing that over the course of the last year, there was talk about the sidewalk or the crosswalk and the studies that they have been doing. And I was just looking into things with the concern.
That's right. I gotta get better about asking people to come up here.
Sorry.
Okay, with the concern about the travel speeds through North Hyde Park and the lack of sidewalks. So what I was looking at a bit with some of the VTrans criteria and what they look for and all that. And I was seeing that they have 11-foot travel lanes is what they, as of 2015, have as their maximum travel width. And for years, 35 years, and being a traffic engineer, most state Department of Transportation's looked as 12-foot lanes for the standard, but it was nice to see where Vermont realizes that in many cases 12-foot lanes are not required, even for trucks. As long as the road alignment is relatively straight and you're not having tight turns and that type of thing. And what they do is they, with their new policy is eventually as they're doing larger resurfacing projects, they'll be converting roads from 12-foot lanes to 11-foot lanes, such as they just did out on Route 15 here right along our frontage.
That's why all white lines wore off.
How's that for
Look,
people driving
all
over?
the White
Right.
lines on the edge. of your
Oh, because
road.
they're
Right.
driving on the ends.
Oh, corners.
Yeah, well, that's not.
Mostly yeah, but definitely corners. I've seen that myself. 'Cause I usually drive there. On the left.
On the right.
It's like your NASCAR, you have to hit that white line.
I know from my own driving and my wife being next to me is when I'm driving and have the beeper on the car. It drifts over the lane and it goes off, so it's like, all right.
Yeah.
keep over
I
that.
turned mine on.
Right. So, at least in North Hyde Park, it's a relatively straight shot through there, excellent sight distance. And so, yeah, it's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, but people are moving. Ron just sent me some information on that, and the 85th percentile speed, which is the speed that 85% of the traffic travels at or below. That's at about 43 miles per hour. So VTrans has recognized that with going to 11-foot lanes, not only do you have an extra foot for pedestrians and bicycles to use on the paved shoulder, but it will also tend to slow down the travel speeds. And so they have a toolbox of different ways to reduce travel speeds, and narrowing the lanes is one of the things that they recommend to have that done. So I had been talking to Rob Moore, who's a staff person, the traffic expert over at Vermont County Planning Commission, and I've been working with him over the last couple of years with the Transportation Advisory Committee and all, and coordinating with Ron as well throughout this whole process. And Rob had touched base with Ian at the state, who's the person that this letter would go to, and talked about the lane width reduction and also about the crosswalk, and they kind of came to a consensus that it would be better to separate the two. And so this is something that if we write this letter, hopefully we get a favorable response from VTrans, and it appears that they would have some sort of general funding that could go towards getting this work done, hopefully next spring. But it does have to go through their process, and so we're hoping to get the letter written. Hopefully you guys are okay with the concept, and I'd be willing to help draft the letter, working with Ron and with Rob Moore. And I don't know if that letter would need to come back to you folks for
And they're gonna-
review and a signature, or if Ron could do the signature for your board. Go ahead.
They're gonna let that crosswalk go across there, state.
That's the step, they wanted that to be a separate request, and so we'll see, about that, but they just figured that it was a little bit easier to separate the two. And so that's kind of the route we're trying to go with it, so with that, as I said, I'd be, I'd like to be involved with drafting it along with Ron and Rob Moore, and I don't know if I have to come back to you for another meeting about it, or if Ron has. So, Ron,
Yeah, usually when we've done this for speed limits before, when the board gets a request, you write a letter to the state traffic committee. And it really is just maybe a little image on the letter to show them exactly what you're talking about, but it's, can you please look at this issue? We think it's important for our village or whatever. And that's it. And then it just goes off into the system, and it's eventually they may call you to go to Montpelier or Zoom in for a testimony of.
Do you think that they would slow that down 10 miles an hour through that village? Because it is 35. Most villages are 20.
I know,
Right.
it is.
And I just wondered if that would be a good idea or not, because the state plows that.
Yeah, we
State
talked
salts it.
3 years ago now, 4 years ago, it was 40.
Oh.
And the
I
select
remember
board,
that, yeah.
select board sent a letter, can you review this?
Yeah.
We didn't give them a number. And they said the best we can do at this time is 35. And I think what that has to deal with is the constraints on that
I
road.
bet, 'cause it's 50 on each other.
But then we're putting in, we're like narrowing the road.
Oh, no, it's a series of things, you're right, but I think the speed limit comes in when they have a crosswalk proposal, or they see things happening. They look at that as the quickest way to the dump,
Right.
from a statewide network system. So
Right.
we're trying to get them to recognize the village.
Yeah.
Right.
Speed limit was the first step. I think the second step is the white lines, and then there's, okay, now what's next? Can you go to 30? Can you go to 25? But they might want to see that crosswalk thing and a speed limit at the same time.
Right.
And these are, the way the V-Trans works, it's a years type of thing that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So I think even getting the white lines this year approved would be a good success for next year. That's how slow the wheels move. So, yeah, a letter that, I think it's stronger if Susan signs it on behalf of the
Sure.
board.
Yeah, no,
But whether the board gets it back is what you're talking about. It's really just a kind of a one paragraph thing.
yeah, I mean, we could expand it to give some more information on their criteria and stuff like that to show our request consistent with
Yeah,
that.
no, you can do it.
And some information on what the travel speeds are and the lack of sidewalks.
Whatever Rob says. Rob
Yeah, that's right.
will have some keywords.
So, yeah, I was already talking about, we were wondering yesterday if we had to get this letter put together for tonight to give to you and say, here's a draft, but we didn't want to be presumptuous.
I think conceptually, I don't hear any objection from asking.
No, I think you just sort of.
And there's only one option, it's a yes or no. It's not like they're gonna come back with.
Yeah, that's right, right.
It's either yes or no on 11 feet.
Right.
I haven't seen a 10 go.
No, they don't want to go down to 10. That's one of the things. They do have these experiments basically that you can do on village roads where it's a state road going through a village or neighborhood setting, and their criteria is that you have the through lanes no less than 11 feet wide, and turn lanes can be 10 feet wide. So basically their minimum and the maximum now is the same 11 feet. So.
For reduced, yeah.
For reduced,
Or otherwise-
but basically going forward, in 2015, they came up with the policy that Justin attached to your package, and that's where they say that going forward, that is the maximum lane width that on state roads. And then take the extra pavement and put it into the shoulder width.
Well, then, should I make a motion?
Yeah, do a motion there.
So I will make a motion that Rob and, right? Robert?
Richard.
Richard Pierce,
Richard.
Robert Moore.
Oh, right, Robert and Ron.
Yeah.
Jeez,
The three guys.
it's confused. Draft or write a letter to the Agency of Transportation for changing the lane width in North Hyde Park Village from 12 to 11 feet. and giving Susan permission to sign on behalf of the board.
And then put in separately the crosswalk.
Yeah, that, Ron, you know better the process with the crosswalk, I believe.
Yeah, we had a MPG 20 grant that was up there with the village
Right.
folks, and that was one of the projects that came out of there. There was a timing thing. So basically, they did the test on the crosswalk and said, we can't approve this. We see how it would look. They wanted it as a pilot project. They
Right.
want, what they
Boys
said,
and all day.
until you connect like the Heath Mill to the post office, we're not gonna approve that because it's a crosswalk without any structure. So I think the concept works down the road potentially, but there'd have to be a little more development and a little more pedestrian corridors to Route 100 before they'll do it.
So we'll forget it then.
Yeah, for
Oh,
now, it'll be-
For now.
I'm not gonna ask that
Right.
anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second Chastain's.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay,
All right, thanks.
see, so we got to listen to all the fun stuff.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. 4.
Oh, community hall.
How come we don't get candy?
Oh,
There's nothing to get candy.
I think you should ask Justin.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
He's in charge of the candy bowl. You talk to
Yeah,
him.
that's right. See, that's right.
Bringing it down.
Usually ends up right.
Krista keeps it full.
I'm gonna say that's Krista right there.
Yeah, you just have to remember to bring it down, Justin, or for the planning commission.
Okay, the ACO and assistant responsibilities.
We received a request from Ally Judkins, who's working with Keith Ulrich on animal control. Now, since we lost the lead ACO, Keith agreed and he resigned actually and came back with a limited scope of work. Ally came on with a little bit of, nobody wanted to take every animal complaint call. So Ally's email to me was, can we redefine our role to dogs only or something like that? And I think that's fine. You know, right now, the animal control ordinance is geared towards dogs. We have policy that we don't deal with cats, and any large animals go to Department of Ag.
I was just gonna ask.
Or the game warden, or the game warden. So there's this triaging that goes on. Barking dogs, roaming dogs to a certain extent, pooping on the neighbor's yard. Those are the things that create the most energy sometimes for the ACOs. They can run out there, the dog's gone, or the neighbors are complaining, and that's the apprehension to the lead ACO where they take everything and do the triage. So I asked her to sort of clarify that, especially how it relates to the ordinance, and represent that herself tonight. But if she's not here, we can defer, or I can follow up and see if she has any specific.
So they take care of dog bites too and stuff like that?
Dog bites go to the health officer.
Does it go?
Yeah, and then the health officer will do the 10-day quarantine to make sure the dog is an observation for 10 days. So I don't think there's anything tonight for your action item, but it's back to the beginning where we still don't have one ACO that does everything and handles everything. So I take some, Keith takes some, Ally takes some, Krista takes some, Kim takes, everybody has a piece of animal control.
Depending on the phone call and who answers.
Yeah,
right?
and
Kind
the
of.
sheriff will take care of the really high hazard calls where there's angry people or guns or threats, that kind of thing. We just have to ask the sheriff to intervene, which is very infrequent, but it can get elevated sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's not the best system. It's sort of a patchwork. I'd like to solve it at some point. The real resolution is, I think, a county enforcement officer that's under Roger Marcoux to deal with this stuff on a very professional, licensed way. And the ACOs can deal with what they can do to help. There's nobody designated to do everything. It's kind of a not broken system, but there are some people that don't get served and they don't like that. How come you're not going to come out with my cat issue? How come you're referring me? Why is the Johnson ACO here? Why is the Elmore water, Wolcott ACO helping out? Because it's a patchwork of things. So if you do get animal control complaints, we do like to hear about it, because usually we can figure out how to deal with that, especially with malnourished and health issues. Keith and Ally jump on those for the dog's health.
Got it.
but some of these social kind of licensing and care issues take all hands on little pieces of it.
Okay.
So that's what's going on there. No, like I said, no action item, but I think Ally just wanted to express her thing directly to you about what she's feeling.
Yeah. Why don't you check with her and see what we're,
Yeah, see if there's any specific action item. I think we can tailor that in the way I told you. that
Yeah.
she would just I'll deal with these three things, Steve will deal with these,
Mhm.
and everything else by default goes to the sheriff.
Exactly.
And we're trying to reduce that workload too. That's why we have this kind of ACO role, is to help the sheriff not have that phone calls all the time.
Right.
So anyway, that's where we're at.
Okay.
So I'll follow up with Ally and see if she has anything to add.
Should we add it to the next agenda for July 25th?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. She may be all set with what I just said because she just wanted to say that. And Keith and I will, with Ally, figure out if there's anything more for the board.
okay,
Susan,
yeah,
since you're talking about dogs, I just wanted to let the board know that we do not, and we probably will not have the annual unlicensed dog report this year. Krista and I have had major issues with our software provider for our dog licenses. Last year, it took us about, I'm going to say about 4 weeks to get an unlicensed dog report out of our system because we had to have the programmers work after work after work. And we finally got one. But we discovered this year that when we tried to print it, the work that they did last year does not carry over to this year. And we would have to do the same thing over. So I've been talking with NIMRIC for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks about getting our current data from our current vendor exported out of that software so I can get it imported to NIMRIC and we can go back to using the NIMRIC software. They're working on that. If they aren't able to do it because of how the other vendor formatted the data, Chris and I will have to do the data entry to get all the dog license information in. Thankfully, we don't have, over 550 dogs licensed like we did prior to COVID, but there's still 350 that we would have to data entry, which would give me a great project to do here at home. But I just wanted you to know you're not going to have one this year unless we get it done, at the end of the summer, because getting you something like after that is just being silly. We're so close to December and we're going to be starting a new year anyway.
and you start a new year, right, right. And you can come up with a list of with the silliest dog names in town.
Well, we do have some of those.
I bet you do.
I wanted you to know that, one of the reasons we went to this vendor was because the ACOs could actually access the software online. And I set up a user, I trained the person how to do it, and the person didn't ever use it. They kept calling me to get the information. So we'll be losing some of that, accessibility, but we'll at least have reports that we can 100% trust.
Right, okay, all right, that'll work. As long as I remember to license my dog and don't show up on the list, we're okay. I'm good, I remember I go town meeting, register the dogs. Okay, the contract budget with VHB for the rail trail design, and that was actually, we talked about and we approved last time, but we had to have the actual number this time. And this is out of the sidewalk fund, right?
Yeah, there's two parts. One is,
Yeah.
this is the design and construction oversight. So it's two parts covered under one bill, I guess you could say. Construction, which is rebuilding sidewalk for ADA, doing whatever else like pavilion, kiosk with the big information, all this. I call them standard because LVRT, the rail trail, VTrans produced a standard design book in May that says, if you're going to be doing these improvements, here's our standard colors, here's our standard sign, here's what we think everybody should do for cohesive 93 miles.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to use that book now to come up with these things. And in your packets, there was a $600,000 construction
Yeah.
cost estimate, which will be a whole separate grant and project down the road.
For the state.
For the state grant to come back on construction. This is just design, where we're still hitting the reserves for 20% of this design work. When you get to construction, then the board needs to decide how to fund that. It could be multiple grant funds, it could be fundraising, it could be
Right.
the sidewalk reserve money could be used again, those kind of things.
Right.
At 100,000, something like that. I think we have over 200,000 in the sidewalk reserve now.
Right.
It's like,
Right, when you get to construction, that's nice to have that kind of money because you can use it to match for other.
Yeah,
programs.
so how much money you want to put into the construction is your
Right.
board's challenge.
Right.
And whether you just take the 20% off the top at 120, or whether you say, oh, we're in for 10%, let's find the other 10 somewhere else, that kind of thing. And that's where other grant programs or federal programs might come in and help make that match. But right now, we're just trying to get this project off design. We had originally, if you remember, had a scoping study, which is the
Right.
first stage
Right.
at 38 or 42,000. Here they bumped it up to get to the design completion where you have a contract for construction, bid documents.
Well, I think, they got money and they're really trying to put an emphasis on things like the rail trail and get it out the door. So I think this is a project and we've worked with
I
them.
think they gotta start over by.
I know, I think they do too. I see it's canceled this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can see, I knew immediately with this, the governor and Bernie were,
Yeah.
they're gone. So do
Yeah.
it's just like.
So we need a motion, because we already approved the money. This
Well,
is
this
just
is,
telling you
this is
to
the
sign.
actual, yeah, well, this is we didn't have the exact amount of money and this gives us the exact amount of money.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so we do need a motion to approve the exact amount of money and authorize me to sign it.
You were wrong. This says wrong.
Ron's fine.
Okay.
Whoever,
Yeah, wherever they use. Whichever vote, it's good.
So I'm making a motion to approve the VHB design contract for 66,737 and to authorize Ron to sign all necessary documents on behalf of the town.
Second.
okay. Any questions for him? Any more? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay. This is contract time. Du Bois and King in the North Hyde Park wastewater study.
Yeah, similar to VHB, this is the contract for the wastewater design study, $60,000 paid from.
That come out of the,
ARPA,
No,
right.
no,
I didn't-
it's two different
no.
projects. I think.
Oh, I
Yeah, this
this
is-
too.
There's a water system project that was ARPA to the fire district number 1. That's for the
Oh, okay.
engineering services to Du Bois King still. That same company, but water system. This is wastewater.
Oh, okay.
So this is a scoping study to figure out if North Hyde Park has a place for a wastewater decentralized system, meaning it doesn't direct discharge into the brook, which they're probably never going to approve again in the state of Vermont. So $60,000 the planning advance. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but planning advance from Agency of Natural Resources says if town has a decent idea that we agree with, we'll front the $60,000. If you decide to build the thing, which could be a $2, $3, $4 million project by the time this whole thing's worked out, we will roll that into the construction financing phase. So you still have to pay it back, but you'll be paying back whatever financing agreements you have down the road for construction. If you decide as the board to say, no, that's too much of a bill. If you've seen press, there's Westford is going through this right now. They did a decentralized system and there's a split opinion on the cost for the amount of benefit. So that's what you'd be
Okay,
careful
right.
of in North Hyde Park. Are you serving, a small project or are you serving North Hyde Park? Might make a difference to how the $2-3 million is spent. So that does happen at some point. This is just figuring out if it's even anything North Hyde Park or town wants, where it could go, what's the size of it, what's the capacity. And you could decide to say, oh, that's a great report, but we're just not going to move forward on construction. A&R will waive that $60,000 and write it off. So there's no immediate, you have a big choice to make at some point. But
Yeah,
it's
once you get the information, we can decide what we want to do.
if you say no, you still don't pull it back. If you say yes, it'll be rolled into the construction.
Or study it.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
So same thing, same, almost the
Same,
same.
need a motion for that.
Great. I'll make the motion to approve, Du Bois King's spend 60,000 for the study for the NHP wastewater.
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay. Okay, Hyde Park and Johnson potentially sharing something.
Okay, so that is in regard to a scanner dash printer for Mylar copies of surveys for the town office. In Hyde Park, we have the survey online on our record base, and we have to use an external company to upload them. And it'd be nice to be able to do that in-house. I'm going to start doing mapping as the assessor for Hyde Park and Johnson. And in order to do that, it would be more efficient if we could just, as soon as we got Mylar, upload it to the website, and that's that. Johnson needs one as well, and their issue is they don't have space. So we discussed, Susan and Rosemary, town clerk and assistant town clerk, discussed possibly sharing one. It hasn't gone to the Johnson Select Board yet, but kind of beginning phases. I went to receive quotes, and it was Underwood?
Yep.
Yep. Underwood is going to provide quotes for us, but they're just out right now. So at the next meeting, I'll be able to give quotes and hopefully also have a conversation with Johnson so we can have it more solidified. Kim and Chris will also be a big part of this as town clerk and assistant. So any system or device that we get, I think they should approve of as well, since they'll be the ones doing the recording. I know.
Justin,
Yep.
have you talked to Rosemary? Because I did send her an email and I haven't heard back from her.
I haven't heard back from her about that either. We had planned to talk about that today, and then everything flooded. So that also got postponed.
That's true.
Okay.
We've been talking about this for a while.
I know, their office must have got
I know they must have, yeah.
It looked like it got flooded.
Yeah,
it must
yeah,
have,
no, I'm
right?
sure they
Yeah.
got flooded.
It is. Yeah, they're closed until further notice.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Oh,
So yeah, so at the next meeting, hopefully we'll be back on dry land and I'll have some quotes for you guys. But I know, and just in talking, they can range from 1,000 to 10,000 plus. I'm going to talk with some of the other towns such as Cambridge, Stowe, Burlington, see what their experience is and if it's working for them or not. And or Kim, if you wanted to reach out, or both of us, however it works. But yeah.
Yeah,
Justin,
email me. We can.
sorry. Ken.
Yes.
yeah,
Hey,
Matt.
this is Matt Reed. Morrisville has a scanner also on there, so you could ask them. They use it quite a bit and they scan their documents in. I've talked to Johnson in the past about it because it would be nice if all their surveys were online. My experience with the scanner/printers is they're anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 for a good one. One that you can check the imaging quite quickly. I use the one in Monash right now for most of my scanning stuff. But Repo Graphics down in Burlington does sell them used, and I believe they have new ones there. And just another, person or place to contact if you're trying to get options for scanners.
Absolutely. Was that over in the Winooski one? I contacted someone by Repro and they said that they don't do that and they referred me to the Underwood. Maybe I contacted the wrong Repro.
Maybe not. I mean, they've tried to sell me, they email me occasionally when they have a used one for sale. So
maybe they just do contract on maintenance of them and they don't sell them anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll look into it some more. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We got it. We'll see what happens. We'll see when Johnson is ready to deal with this kind of issue again. I'm gonna do a jump down to 11 in the tax rate. Here's what I'm talking around. Here's the really good news. The tax rate is, because of course you never know when you do your town report. Here's what you hope the tax rate is. It's exactly what we printed in the town report. That may happen once every 20 years. So, Kim, Ron, you wanna, here it is.
Yeah, Kim, wait, do you want to go over what you usually do every year with this, and handing out your, July 11 form that you sign?
Yeah, so I've always calculated the tax rate manually. And this year I went into NIMRIC and I calculated it manually, but I also went into NIMRIC and I calculated it through NIMRIC because, you know, everything's right there. And I wanted to know how close our calculations were. And so what you see in front of you is the computer numbers, and it was off by literally 0.0001 from what I was manually calculating. So I'm glad about that. But the tax rate rounded as proposed is 0.9264. The local agreement rate rounded is 0.0039. That local agreement rate, if you don't know, is the town collecting back the education taxes from the veterans exemptions that we voted to increase from $10,000 to $40,000.
Yep.
We collect back the education dollars in the difference between the 10 and the 40, so on the $30,000. One of the attachments is a list. I don't know which order it was given to you, so I forgive me. But,
Yeah, it's second page from the last, if the board wants to look at the property list that Kim's talking about that has a makeup dollars, so about $500 for each account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Add
that's,
that up.
I mean, that's what,
Go ahead.
that's what those, that's where those dollars come from that we're trying to make up. So that's the money we're losing from those taxpayers that we then turn around and spread out and collect from the rest of the taxpayers. So as you can see on that spreadsheet or on that document, the total combined tax rate is 2.6745 for the residential, and the non-residential or non-homestead 2.7493. That 9264 number, I think, is what was really close to what was put into the town report, like Susan said. It was really close. So that's where we're at on that.
Oh, thank you, Kim. On page 2 of the handout is, and this was done more for training for Jennifer's use, just so she's aware of how this step-by-step process works. And you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the left column, which basically just walks somebody through if they wanted to do it themselves at any time.
Okay.
So as the numbers change, as the grand list change, as the budget changes, you can just insert that new information. The local option tax changes because those are separate contracts and things that people apply for, and then there's a new number every year, which Kim manages. So just to summarize, we had about a 5-cent increase, which is about 5.9%. And the number Kim was referring to was the difference between the printed and the calculated or proposed rate, which was 0.004. So that's 4,000. very, very small. So anyway, that all works out good. The things, the variables are still an issue every year this time. One of them is the top line. So the top line says the grand list increased by 1.55, which is below what we were estimating slightly. So we were pretty much, I think 175 or something we were using. So not a big change in the grand list, but that number really should be in the 2 to 3 range if we have a sort of an active commercial construction and not a whole bunch of, deterioration of buildings. So you can try to get into that 2 to 3%, which tends to get back to that 2 or 3% on your tax rate. But when you have a 1.55 grand list, it goes the other way and you go from a 3 or 4% to the 5% that you'll see in the tax rate increase. So that's kind of how those
But
numbers work.
there were years, Ron, where we were lucky if we had a 0.25% increase. So, I mean, 1.57 is not where our goal is. It's much better than it's been in the past.
Oh, yeah, no, totally agree. We were fighting zeros for a while.
Yeah.
So, and I think 1 year in the last 10 was a negative grand list.
Oh, no kidding.
So you have to make that up with
Right.
the tax rate increase.
Yeah.
The wild card in all this, which you have control over, is whether or not you want to use unassigned fund balance to reduce the 5 cents, or whether or not you think the 5.9% tax rate increase is acceptable for all things considered. So you do have that option under your fund balance policy to draw down on that and reduce that. Of course, you don't have that money for future years when you do that, if you're
Right.
using it. And 5 to 6% with a 7, 8, whatever the inflation is, it's down to 4 now, if you look, depending on what CPI you look at. So 5 is sort of like the historical number. All the prices have increased, right, already. When we start this again in a couple of months for the next FY25, we can only hope that it stays in the 4.3 and even gets down to the federal goal of 2 eventually. And then you can start to, try to match that a little bit more. So I don't know, whatever goals you want to make, I'm just saying, I think we're probably okay from all things considered to keep at the recommendation in that case
Again, we're looking.
on the first page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also the issue is if you use your money, I always look at the voters have said, here's how much money you can have to spend this year. And if we're for a whole variety of reasons, and some of, you're good, you save, you whatever, they've approved that you can spend that much. And what we have been traditionally doing, you divide it up and put it in the various gigantic funds and expenses that we see that are coming our way. So that you can end up being in a situation where if you have to borrow money to buy a truck, you don't have to borrow a lot of money to buy a truck. When you have a major flooding events and you've got a lot of expenses, you don't have to borrow from the money from the bank to pay the expenses. So I think it works out well long-term to say, okay, here's how much money we can spend. It's a good incentive to save it. Plus, if you use it to reduce it, it's a one-time thing. So next year you can end up having to do a much bigger tax increase because you artificially lower it 1 year. And this is sort of what we told folks to expect at town meeting, and everybody was okay with it. Our neighbors doing 30% have made us look very good.
That's right.
We're neighbors. So I guess what we need is a movement to set the tax rate, and then I'll sign it.
Yeah, your motion is the top part. You'll see the above tax rate where Susan will sign.
Oh, so the motion would be to approve the municipal tax rate at 0.9264 and the local agreement rate at 0.0039.
Right, yeah, and then the combo of that,
And then-
I don't, that it's not on the sheet. Kim, the combination of the two is not, right? You have them just broken down.
I purposely didn't put those on there because they show as broken down individually on the tax bill.
Right.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
we
right.
do.
Yeah, and just, so not, yeah, right, so she'll use the broken down on the tax bill. The combination is 9303.
With a combination
If
of
they're combined, yeah.
90.93.
When we talk about municipal rates, it's the combination rate that you compare to other towns. You
Okay,
just to point that out, but
Okay.
2 boxes are what you're, the two.
got it.
We got it.
rounded
Okay.
ones are what you're approving.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, you must have the copy I signed. Yeah, I see it right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I see it right there.
And this is the E and O, I want to get to it,
Okay,
which is added to the agenda.
yeah, I'm gonna say, let's do.
Oh, the E and O,
No, go to the ads.
which is on the tax rate right here. Oops, where are the ads?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. I know what it is. He didn't send it to my home. That's why I think I don't know. I figured out my phone. So what we need to do?
No.
Agenda is to set it, we did it. This is staff packet, not individual. There's also an,
E and O.
okay,
So, well, you have one E and O, so it's kind of, it's a little bit strange. So
oh, good.
the grand list was just barely approved by the assessors and listers. The same day, practically, an error was caught by Kim on a
Yeah,
expired tax stabilization contract that was included in the just approved
Oh, my
grand
God.
list.
Okay.
So that,
So we have to do this.
so that
Yeah.
there was no tax credit or tax stabilization for 124 Lock Avenue. But it didn't come off the records from the assessor. So this is a correction to the brand new grand list.
Okay.
So it's a difference of, it's an increase for them, basically of $7,500. Because they don't get that benefit of
The tax.
tax stabilization, so
Gotcha,
their valuation goes up.
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah,
Do
everybody's.
we need a motion for that or no?
Yep, you have to
Oh, we
sign
do?
that. Yeah, you have to sign the assessor, the board of listers sign this afternoon. And the select board signs on the right side. And then Kim will sign the bottom and file it
Okay.
to make it all. Kim, I think you're not gonna have to issue an amended tax bill because you haven't sent them out yet.
Correct.
That's what usually happens
I know I bet.
at the end of the month when we get an E and O.
Yeah, right.
Then there's a need to do something with that, sometimes amend a tax bill. So you really don't want a lot of sort of reductions in the people's valuation
Right.
after,
Tax
really
rates.
after now, because you get too many reductions, the tax rate's wrong.
Got it.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
And the
Kim
tax rate-
is,
Sorry, go ahead,
The
Kim.
tax rate was set and calculated on the corrected 411 grand list value.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, okay.
Good.
So with this change.
Yeah.
Got it.
Correct.
Got it.
and Kim, is Krista authorized to sign the E and O, or does it have to be you?
No,
She
she
can
has to-
sign it.
Yeah, she's required by state law to
Yeah.
sign it.
Krista
Kim
can
is.
sign it in my,
Oh, Krista can, okay.
Yeah, either,
Because we gave her the authority to sign for Kim.
it's automatic when
Yeah,
Kim's
Got it.
Yeah, right.
not available.
Okay, so we need that motion.
Oh, motion?
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the E and O for 124 Lock Avenue.
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay. The reserve fund that is not confirmed. That's another.
That's minutes.
Okay,
It's 5 minutes when you get there.
okay, Kim, with that, as I say, I just jump around a little bit before we do it. Let's.
That's okay. I did email Al Spitzer to see if he was attending to advocate for the purchase of the Griswold house. He sent an email. And the Guyan Valley Hall Committee approved that request going to you under ARPA. But they should be here to talk about
Right.
it, so I can defer that to the next meeting.
So what are they gonna do with it?
His email was kind of very short. I want to be able to have 5 minutes on the meeting just to advise the board that we want, which is GBH committee, to have the town purchase the old Griswold house for use as parking for the church, for the GBH activities, as well as to develop a town park and playground for North Hyde Park. So that's what their committee talked about. I think it was on one of the original ARPA lists to buy the red house, and that eventually sold and was quickly
Yeah.
renovated for
Right.
rental.
So that,
This is the next house that's
house-
here.
I'll say, which house is that?
stayed right across.
It's two or three houses down from the,
Yeah, it's right across from cousins,
Oh, okay.
but it's one of that steel garage. I wonder how that garage would be.
yeah. And it's got, it kind of mushrooms out in the back, so it's kind of a large backyard. It's like almost like a T shape.
Now that garage might be something.
Well, apparently they just lowered the price on it, which is what they've got the GBH committee excited about it, because it was only 130 and it went down to 115 or something. So
Yeah.
to get a decent sized property in North Hyde Park, is what they see with a significant parking issue for any of their events. And every time they come to the select board for, can we have a grant to try to improve, what do you gotta do about parking? Yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
first thing that
Yeah.
it said, we should put any money into the parking, and so they're trying to solve their problem.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad place.
But you could do the select board has authority to offer, enter into purchase and sale agreement with conditions too. You don't necessarily have to turn over the 115,000. You can have negotiations with the owner and say, we're interested. Can we talk about a purchase and sale agreement with
Is
conditions?
there a potential for a brownfield up there? What did they do with the?
Oh, that's,
Was there a
Chris
potential
Watts?
for a brown, was there anything going on with that garage that may have?
Dave used it as, remember when he sold boats there and then he rented U-Hauls there?
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
That wasn't too long ago.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
too long
okay.
ago.
okay.
I mean, he really never really got into that, but what I was thinking is a steel building, looking into that and thinking that building and putting it up into the pit.
I know they have some, they do have a need for storage.
You wanna go check it out?
Well, I'll have somebody go with me.
Matt,
Yeah.
Matt, what are you saying? I think Matt Reed.
Oh,
Hey, just as a aside, I went and looked at that property.
Okay.
As a potential investment. So I spent a couple hours going through it. This is I think it's a little overpriced, even with the location. It is a nice big lot. The parking area that's next to the church actually, I believe, belongs to the church. So, but it's got a big front lawn and it goes down and it could have a road down to the, what is next to the river if it's not underwater, but there's a lot of stuff back there. But the house is obviously in shambles, galvanized pipe inside. I don't know how much lead pipe was inside. I don't know what's in the walls or whatnot. There was no sewer that could be found. We couldn't figure out. I think it just goes out to a collapsed tank in the backyard. The garage has a pit in it, and there's still 5-gallon pails of oil and whatnot in the garage in the pit. I don't know what any sampling underneath that garage or around there would look like. But the garage is pretty much rusting through. The purlins on the roof. He had spray foamed some insulation on it, and that had a bunch of condensation, and it rusted between the insulation and the purlins. And of course, the bottom of the sills and all that were almost level or a little bit below grade after many years, and those are rusting out. So I don't know how many years left that the steel building actually has that I would safely put anything in there. And then the pit, of course, would have to be taken care of. And it is a big lot. I think it's still overpriced considering it's going to cost more to tear all that down than you would ever gain out of using it.
You're looking at it from a private investment type of issue, not as a publicly funded grant type project.
Right. I was just looking at it as if you're going to buy it, I would make sure I wouldn't overspend on it, considering you would have, if the town.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, there's a lot, sounds like there's liabilities, but there's
a
also
lot of liabilities that could
opportunity
be
there
there.
too for North Hyde Park, I think.
Yeah, but
Really,
the offset is it is parking. You rarely get a chance to buy something cheap enough to gain a lot of parking in a useful area in North Hyde Park. So it does have that going for it. It's just, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that the building and the garage were, I think, in no way usable for anything other than just to tear them down. That's all. Thanks.
That's good information. Thank you.
Yeah. He knows.
Yeah.
Well, I'll shut that one down.
I know, bummer.
And on that,
I think,
On the building side, I agree with you. It
Right.
sounds like it's more like a $10,000 disposal fee.
Yeah.
here's what I think. I think we should send Brent Lanfear in to negotiate it.
Yeah, right.
And when he
Seems to
gets
do a
it,
damn
when he
good
gets it
job.
for $30,000, done. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. You'll only charge them.
Well, Justin, as far as minutes go, we will have to reach out to Al, just because they brought it forward. They should have potential time on the 25th. But
Yeah.
that's just a note for me and you to remember to talk to Al before the 25th.
absolutely. And has there been any follow-up with the fire district property in North Hyde Park?
No, there was a note at one of the prior meetings that somebody was gonna look at it, I thought, or I don't know if that was me, but.
I have
it
to
was in
look
the
up, see
minutes.
who, yeah, I have to look up, see who it was, but yeah, I was just thinking before jumping into a purchase and sale as well with that, see if they're willing to give it up for $1.
Right,
Right. Was
who was that?
that you?
We can't remember who was supposed to do the outreach on that.
I can look it up later and send out an email when I distribute the minutes.
I don't. Maybe you weren't here. No.
Last meeting,
No, it was a while ago.
that's what I,
Okay.
It might have been the ARPA meeting or the one before that.
Yeah, I'll look for it too.
Okay.
Anyway, there was a potential project that needed follow-up. That was,
Okay,
it hasn't been done yet as far as I know.
okay.
well, it's me, I forgot that.
I was gonna say,
I think we all
we all have.
We all have. We have to-
What? I think Matt was supposed to do it.
Yeah, but we're not mad. Yeah, it's totally mad.
Not Matt Reed, no.
No,
No.
not Matt Reed, no.
No, we appreciate that.
Okay, let me do for things that we really get through while our brains are semi-clear here.
This one?
Well, there's the potential, yeah, what's 12 that, Justin, what's the,
Oh, I can
you can
speak to
do that? Okay.
Yeah, so the last meeting, there was a motion to approve.
Oh,
Up to
tax
33,000,
Yep,
but
That's
it
right.
was listed as vehicle reserve. This is
Oh.
equipment reserve,
I got you.
Got it.
so we just need a corrective motion, either part of the minutes when you get there. If it's part of the minutes, it's fine, or you can have another motion to correct that one term. It makes a big difference to the,
Oh, yeah,
Finance
yeah,
manager.
yeah. Why don't we just correct it in the minutes?
Okay,
yeah, just make
That's
sure. that
easy, yeah.
It's gotta say equipment instead of vehicle.
okay.
Okay, you have to remember that, Justin.
Okay, so I'm updating the June 27th minutes to correct, yeah, to update that accordingly, then we'll approve
Yeah.
that. Okay, yep, we're
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
So when we get there, actually, we want to go ahead and approve the minutes now since we're talking about the minutes.
Yes. Oh, you
Yeah,
were here,
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, I'll
well,
approve the
it's-
minutes with the change of that we just discussed. I'll second them.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Nope. Rolly's abstaining. He wasn't here. Okay. Can do that one too. Let's talk about Centerville. Culvert.
Centerville,
This
hoping
is-
everybody's
this is
been
a-
by,
Yeah.
so.
I got out and walked down it.
I did too.
Yeah,
Scary.
Where should I go? It's right across from, like, kind of right near Patty Heford's house, you know, what it is? Oh, Centerville Road,
The center going down past the fire station.
yes.
Yeah.
It's right on the
Yeah,
left.
that road's closed now.
Yeah, I saw.
Because half of it's gone. And if you get down and look at it, you go, ooh,
So they did close it today?
yeah,
I know where the perfect.
I just said that live yesterday,
yeah.
You could drive down to it and turn.
because that gravel is more like falling.
You'll see.
Put it in. How's that?
Yeah.
I don't think it's gravel, I think it's more of a
Sandy,
sandy.
yeah, it just went away in 2 seconds.
I told Mark when that thing was falling in last night.
I think it was put in for protection of the water main, and that's
Right,
part of
that's part
the,
of it, right.
so the village of Hyde Park.
Must have dumped a ton of that.
I don't know, it was a protective measure, whatever, but it's now down in the Lamoille River. So.
Champlain.
Yeah. It may just be about Johnson right now.
Yeah.
Go.
Right.
So the new, the acting general manager is, Brian. I don't know if anybody's met Brian yet. Evans Monton is his name.
He's terrific.
So we've been in communication every day just because that particular site has a water main that serves the village. The initial damage was done on Friday night. And it exposed the pipe
Yes.
with fiber line or something in there. I think it's fiber line. And village took care of that repair. It was kind of a sandy, quick fix to protect the water because the water main is supported by the dirt. And if the dirt goes away, the water main starts to sag. So they came up with a sort of a temporary fix on the second time that it washed out, because it immediately washed out on Sunday. And they put a telephone pole and tried to strap it up to support the water main.
Right.
So now if you go there today, you'll see that.
Which that was actually a pretty good idea. Yeah, I thought.
It's very
that was
temporary.
Yeah, definitely temporary.
The pipe is not perfect. It's on a S,
Yeah.
almost a S curve type, exaggerating that. So Brian and I are trying to figure out collectively between the highway crew, the water crew, and our other partner in this, which is FEMA. So FEMA has approved partial funding for the replacement of that culvert and the Brook Road culvert. Ron DeRocher and his crew have been selected as low bid to do both work, both projects, same time. DeRocher out of Burlington.
Oh, the Roche.
So I see they're still in.
They haven't canceled yet.
Okay.
But it's getting late for them because there are other projects and what, the season. kind of thing.
Exactly.
So what do we do? So we can accelerate or try to expedite that one project because we probably have between the town resources and the FEMA money, we have enough money for one of those two.
You want to, right.
We have a pending request with FEMA, which is now a little over 2 weeks old, for another $700,000 to do both projects.
Well, and
they haven't
because
approved that.
part of the problem is when we got the bids, they were like, twice the amount. It's like everything is.
So we basically had to ask FEMA for one of the projects, because the original FEMA estimate was for both, but it didn't adjust for all the COVID inflation 2 years ago.
Right,
So that's just 2 year window. I'm hoping this is the end of that rapid kind of.
right.
So a couple things happen. If DeRocher is told we need to expedite this water main class 2 road, we have to engage the third party, which is FEMA, and bring them along for that type of thing. And I haven't asked them that yet, but we could.
FEMA will, they'll help some, I'm sure of that. I mean.
Well, we have enough.
We already have FEMA money, but it isn't enough to do both projects. So the question is, do we want to take all the FEMA money and do this one
Yes.
and then see what we can
You
do?
gotta do that. second.
That's what I
It's
do.
dangerous. Yeah.
And then Brook Road.
It would get that feeds the village.
Right.
The water.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt it's a much more high priority than Brook. Brook Road is almost the opposite end. There's, half a dozen houses and a long dirt road,
Right, exactly.
which
But a lot
has,
of people like to cut through.
and they have alternate class 2 paved roads as bypasses. of the
Yeah.
road. So it's two totally different
Right.
roads as far as the importance to the town. Brook Road, I think, is closed because of a second culvert that we had issues, even though the first culvert is supposed to be
Well,
replaced.
that 18-inch plastic covers, it's broke apart. I was there last night.
Yeah, I think Mark is trying to get at that tomorrow, so. Whatever, I just need to ask that question, so the board's like, okay, we're come up with an idea here, we know we have a pending cost change request with FEMA to get the extra 700.
Yeah.
But are you gonna ding us for trying to move forward with this project?
Yeah.
Because we know we don't have money to go after the original scope. I don't know what their
Right.
answer is. I'm hoping they're saying you need to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Well,
potentially.
particularly, this is where what's just happened to us could be a benefit to say, here's what happened again, here's what we just said. Here's what we're doing. We took the high priority one that is really a very high priority goal and did it.
Awfully.
Yeah, and the most frustrating part is we do have all the permits and all the easements, et cetera, for this project, and so far we have a contractor, but I don't, if FEMA says we need a few weeks to think about this, or we're not gonna fund it, then we may need to accelerate our encouragement of going. No, but I'll just start it, but I want, before I started that and try, because it may lessen the funds for program. That's the negative outcome is we.
There you go.
We don't have a choice.
Definitely gotta use better gravel. That stuff they get in there is.
Yeah, this is a whole new spec project, all state, federal spec, so as long as they meet the spec, they'll be, address that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was looking at that. I was going.
No, that's okay, I'll just start that discussion,
Okay.
and see where it goes, and we'll
Okay.
have reports if whatever happens. I'm thinking it'll be okay, you guys gotta do what you gotta do, but you know you run the risk of not having another. Anyway,
I can get this one done.
Yeah, get it done. Right.
We're gonna be in trouble with the water down there with the whole village. That feeds.
of course, every contractor at this point is
Oh, yeah.
being pulled every which
Yeah,
way.
exactly. So I think you want to get the contractor and say, we're in, do it.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Well,
Yeah,
FEMA than the contractor, yeah, I think the contractor's gonna wanna know about that.
right.
But we need the FEMA money, which is like 97% of the
Right,
cost.
Right, but
So
you.
anyway, we'll get more information. I wanted to
Right.
make sure that you guys had the okay to change that up a little bit. It's the worst time to change it up,
Well,
Yeah, I know.
but
Or is it?
Yeah, it's true.
well, they could extend it.
Right?
Sometimes things get all amended to make everything worse
Right.
last week,
when it gets really bad.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I needed on that.
last
Okay,
Saturday. Must be.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The town administrator job description. They have the giant packet that I had everybody,
The starter package,
the starter package, that's right. And I don't know as much, you guys just tell how much you want to discuss tonight as opposed to now having this and I had, it is, again, part of it, we begin to come up and also, so, you know, I got with Ron now with his work schedule, have him sort of breaking down his hours and how much time is going into what kind of administrative job. So that over any, you know, a few weeks, we'll have an idea of what,
Oh, and
What-
Krista
what
did do
next?
some notes, okay.
yeah, Krista added her thoughts, and Kim
Right.
just sent an
Cool.
email, which I can forward to you, that has some more notes.
okay,
So you'll have, look for
Okay,
Kim's
great.
email to kind of batch this together.
Oh,
and
then, yeah, we should.
Yep.
wait
yeah,
till next
yeah,
meeting.
but everybody has it and to
Yeah.
take a little time before the next meeting, sort of
Okay.
to look at it. I'll probably, in meeting with the staff, will probably have, I'm sure, have some things from Thursday to add.
Okay.
Part of it is when you look at the original, you know, way back when we started and we did these, now some of these things that are the, you know, that were town administrators, you know, he's not doing that anymore.
Right.
With the divisions and the splits that we've made. So seeing what is actually left for a town administrator to do. And that's when you can come up with the sort of with the job description. And I thought it would just be helpful because we've got, and it's funny, we've got what Johnson is advertising right now.
Yeah.
And what
Morrisville
Morrisville,
is.
yeah, so that what their descriptions are and what they're looking for. Just to, and again, we're in a different, but it's here, they're going. I understand that Morristown they've gotten a couple of responses there. You know, so that people are answering.
Mhm.
God bless them.
But they're advertising, aren't they, for manager?
No,
Nope,
town
nope.
administrator,
no.
that's their ad in our packet.
Yeah, they aren't ready to go
We're
to.
going to,
No, they haven't, to change to a town manager is a big deal. Yeah, that's right.
Somewhere.
I know it, that's right.
Chief administrative officer.
Yeah, Roland, I watched one of the Morristown Select Board meetings, and in the community, there's a group of people that want to force the board to consider the town manager form of government.
Okay,
So that's out there. The select board has said, can we just get through the budget first, because we are overwhelmed with trying to figure out how to step down the budget to a positive vote. So they've been taking almost all their time trying to deal with that challenge, if you will. And then they've sort of said, can you hold, and then they'll take up that, which is another goal of some of the board members, is just they are just about the right size to do that,
Yeah.
even a little bit late, I think.
Just lost the board.
A little bit late for that, probably about 5 years late. That'd be my guess. Richmond was the same situation. I started there as a one person, not to give you any foreshadowing, but I started as a one person shop there. Now they have, bigger town, of course, because that was 20 years ago. But that's how they stepped it up. They did the town administrator, they did the zoning administrator, they did the assistant to the select board / board clerk. And then at some point, they said, the board wants to step back and do long-term planning and leadership stuff. And then they switch to a town manager to deal with all the day-to-day stuff, which means that the select board gives up some of the micromanagement options, like you would never go to the foreman as a select board. I'm using a good example because it happens, whether you're the public or whether you're a select board member, you'd work through a town manager to get to the foreman on day-to-day stuff. So that's just here, a lot of people have access right to the select board. And that is broken to a high degree with the town manager system. Right.
Oh,
So that's a big difference. That's why
it's a big difference.
it's a big change, yeah.
I don't
But-
know if you remember Tom Crawford worked over there.
No.
Tom Crawford, he wanted to be the town manager,
Oh, mhm.
and he had qualifications
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah, they didn't want to do it, right?
And they didn't do it?
No, obviously, right.
No, but there's a time in every community.
And that was about 8 years ago.
Yeah, there's a time in every community where the select boards begin to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Whether it's a driveway apron paving on Eden Street. Or a ditch line that should have been done 5 years ago on Centerville. They are dealt with on a day-to-day, because the town manager has control to move the resources around
Money.
without going back to the board. That's the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah,
difference.
that's right.
So
Town
you
managers would-
do give that up, but
So
on the
there's
flip side,
pros and cons, I
Yep.
guess, but
no, but on the
Wait,
flip
what?
side, it's a change of psyche for the town a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the people know the manager is the person to go to for my day-to-day.
yeah,
And if I think we should have a swimming pool in Hyde Park, I'm gonna go to the select board.
Right.
Take
Because
two-
Williston had that.
Yeah.
A few years.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
When Steve Queen was there. and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not saying that Morristown is,
no,
not wrong or anything, because every town has to figure it out, but
well, and they're growing so much, I mean, they're
They-
like in a big changing pattern too, right?
I think they're ready. On the flip side, that for Hyde Park, probably not so much. I think
Right.
with what we're doing with the town administrator, soul searching a little bit about what you want that person to do. This will come out again as okay, where are we in our needs? Do we mind dealing with the small things, or do we want to give them up? And I don't know that answer.
Yeah,
That's just,
Well, I don't think we have so many small things that it overwhelms us.
right,
If we are twice this size,
yeah,
you are then overwhelmed by all the little things.
exactly.
Well, yeah, there's,
Yeah.
part of it certainly is the industry,
For
right?
sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And more spots.
that brings a whole different level.
It really does, yeah, huge,
Right.
And Stowe did the same thing with tourism. They had to have a manager there,
exactly.
and these other towns.
Stowe did it 10 years ago.
Yeah, they did it quite a
No,
while.
but I'm saying that's their thing. They needed somebody to have a bigger, day-to-day view of the thing.
Yeah, well, okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's a big decision.
Yeah, there's some, okay.
Okay, so we've got homework.
Okay.
And I just sent you Kim's,
Easy now,
notes.
okay, great.
Super, great. Thank you, Kim. Highway access permits.
Highway access, hold on,
Oops.
I missed my iPad.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Now, Ron, you used my right email, and that's what I gotta, because the last two board,
Oh, does Justin use the,
yeah, Justin using the wrong email.
Oh, okay.
What email do I need to use?
What's that?
Which
Which
one you
email
want
do
to
I need
use?
to use?
Bobby dot
Roll.
Roland at yahoo.com.
Oh,
If you're using the one
Okay,
that-
yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
We're using
Yeah.
Hyde Park.
Yeah. Well,
Susan, am I supposed to be using your Hyde Park or your Senator?
Senator,
Okay, so I'll change that one too.
read it at home on my big, nice.
Makes a difference.
The
Takes a
print's nice and big. I can sit in my office. and-
Oh, I just signed into Outlook on my computer.
Okay,
I don't know. That's
okay.
her. She's a lucky person.
Okay.
Yes, no. So I put really quick. This is a kind of a good example of how the town and village could work better together, I guess. Better being if you establish policies and rules and practices that are developed cooperatively between the town and village, eventually you start to check off some of the friction too. So one of the pieces of friction, if there was one, is in the town highway system going through the village and what gets done within the right-of-way limits and how that's done. So for example, right now, the village of Hyde Park, and there's other utilities too, but I'll use them as an example, that has the water, sewer, electric facilities running through, cross, under, over the public right-of-way. Under state law, the town owns and controls the right-of-way. And any utility that is proposed, that doesn't have to be, there's no provision for a denial of use of right-of-way for utilities, but there is a provision for approval of the use by the select board, so that we ensure that doesn't interfere with traffic or road maintenance.
Okay.
So for example, if we had a plan to put 2 lanes on the southbound Church Street, we could deny a request to put poles in the first lane. And we would deny that request and tell you got to push them to the edge of that proposed for a future project. So that's just an example of how
Got
you
it,
would
okay.
set. One of the smaller issues we have, and one of the pet peeves, I guess, from Mark French is he really likes to have good roads. I don't care if it's a gravel road, paved road, whatever. If once that road is rebuilt and graded and hopefully has a slate crown and the pavement's all fresh, it doesn't get disturbed at all for at least 5 or 6 years if possible. Almost every time he does that, whether it's the Depot Street or it's Edith Street, the utilities come in and say, oh, by the way,
We gotta tear this up.
the contractor just left and we want to cut across the road in 3 places. So Mark and I talked about what that means to him, like personally, from a personal professional level.
Yeah.
And he really hates that because he's like, oh, it's a beautiful road. We just spent 300,000.
Well, yeah.
So I said, all right, so let's say we allow cutting of the road. What's your second concern? Well, it's a cut in the road, it's gonna have potholes, it's gonna fail, it's gonna sink, people are gonna get bumps, when they go over it or whatever. And the only avenue to mitigate that risk or reduce the risk of that happening is good inspection of their work.
100% compaction.
So you can have compaction tests, you can have somebody sitting and babysitting them. If you turn your back on a contractor that has 18 jobs and they need to be all of them done by Friday, they may not have good compaction. Because they need to go on the next one. Reputable people will potentially save the time and delay their projects, and other people that are just trying to get things done won't. And we don't know that either way,
Exactly.
unless we're on site or have somebody there. So
Right.
2 or 3 years ago, we tried Dick Grogan to do some of that on site. Didn't work out so well due to some conflict of personalities. But Mark and I said, what are the options? There's 3 basically that we can't, 4. We could deny the road cut, which you technically can't do. Practically can't do, and you're probably would be prevented by a court from denying you. Because it's a public right of way.
Right.
The public uses it, utilities use it, whatever. So take that off. So then you have a bore under the road, which doesn't disturb the surface. It's a little bit more difficult, a little more expensive. And if it makes sense, I think a lot of people do it. Howard Minosh did it on Garfield Road because it made sense to do that. He knew Garfield Road was just paved. There's a pole on one side. He needed to build a house on the other side. And he goes, I'm not even going to ask to cut that new pavement. I'm boring.
Yeah,
So he did it by automatic.
but not everybody feels that way.
Not every.
No, because like hooking in sewer. You gotta get to that pipe.
Gotta get to the middle.
Right.
Sometimes the middle of the road, yeah. So it's easier to see when you're connecting to the middle of the road to dig down and try to chase a lateral line to a house and just chase it to the main line with dirt moving, and you go slow for utilities or whatever. So if you're not gonna bore, then you end up with two other options, and Mark or the town have never dealt with this. So when the village said, what do we do about this situation on Eden Street? They want to do a road cut for a sewer connection that was never done 40 years ago. Mark's like, is there any way you can avoid a cut in a relatively new pavement? And they had this back and forth, just like, is there any way, can we go look at it? And there was no policy dealing with the inspection part. The only policy we have now is that we collect a fee, $165 for road cuts for construction within the right of way. Whether it's a driveway or it's a utility cut. That pays for at least 2 relatively quick site visits. One site visit by Mark to go out there and check up where the stakes are and what they want to do and try to understand the project. And a second site visit to do the final inspection, to have the contractor call and say, hey, we're out of here. You want to come look at our work to make sure it's a smooth surface. The missing piece, which is what Mark doesn't have time for, and what we tried to get Dick Grogan to do, is to watch the critical phases, just like Roland said. Have the contractor call. We're starting backfilling now. You might want to come out and watch, because that's one option. The contractor could potentially do that. Mark has to drop what he's doing and come in. Or we came up with the two other options, which other towns already do. You collect a engineering technical services fee. So we have somebody there and they pay it as part of their application fee. So whether Mark can get there or not, if he can't get there, then the money's there to cover Doug Weber or
Right.
Dick Rogan
Yeah,
to go out
whoever,
there and
yeah.
sit for the 2 or 3 hours when they're closing the road back up. That was one option. That was like a $500 add-on. And if we don't use it, it goes back to the applicant. The second option was and I think Stowe does this, a lot of other Colchester, I don't know what Morrisville does, but they take a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 deposit retainer basically and hold it. And then they hold it for a certain period of time, 90 days, 6 months, something like that. So if that cut fails and it sinks and the contractor doesn't come back under warranty to fix it themselves, then the town can hire somebody or do it themselves, and we access that. And if there's anything left over, that extra money goes back to the applicant. That's as far as we got. So I wrote that up in your packet just to have it in writing. I'm not sure. There's other places that have, engineers on state, and they've been doing this forever and they have a whole different protocol, but the village projects just are pushing Mark to say, I don't have the time to babysit those cuts. That's his problem. If he had time and got off the culvert project or chasing a part or getting his trucks on whatever he's doing, especially this guy, then he wouldn't have time to go sit and chat with the contractor and kind of look over and make sure it's done. And it'd be 2-3 hours at the most, probably, if they get it the right time of the project. Well, small project. And that would work, but it takes Mark away. So that's where we're gravitating from a time where I think the road foreman ignored it totally in the past. There was just no oversight.
Yeah.
And then we dealt with the outcome. 50% of them good, 50% of them failed. And we pave it or pothole it or deal with it forever after that until the road was redone. Now Mark's thinking proactively and saying, if the road's due for reconstruction and we're gonna rip that thing up,
Yeah.
then we can waive the fees for that kind of stuff, because we're going in there next summer and we don't care if it fails because we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if that was just paved last week and they want to cut it, I want that to be a 20-year road, and I don't want to have that cut my only problem in the whole road. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve. It's trying to keep it simple too. So I talked to the village and we were going over policy and whether or not this inspection stuff was in place first and whether the fees were in place. And I'm like, I don't think we've never gone to this length of trying to figure out this inspection. We always buried it sort of in the highway cost or deferred projects because Mark had to be pulled off a project. It was there, but it was just hidden. And he said, Brian, totally agree that those are good ways to address either the lack of a town engineer or inspector type thing.
Yeah.
And
And it's only on as needed and we've got the money. If you
yeah,
like
right,
the-
or to go back.
Yeah, I like the $500 deposit or whatever.
Yeah, for the immediate need
Yeah.
of getting somebody else out there.
Right.
So So that's as far as I got. I don't know, did you guys ever collect anything like that in Morristown for road cuts?
No.
Was it you?
Every time you got the road paved, they had to do a road.
And did it make you mad? Do you wish, like, do you think these are good ideas?
There's nothing you can do.
Well, no, I know,
They
but
have the right.
yeah,
There's nothing you can do about it.
yeah,
That happens to every village,
yeah,
every village.
But you can make them pay for it,
right. To keep your road,
right?
Well, it's just the inspection services.
right, the
If,
inspection,
if you let them go and cut it, I think most contractors, like I said, you're gonna get it, most of them are gonna do it okay, I think. I'm not cutting all contractors out.
no, yeah,
But to prevent against that failure part is what we're
Right.
talking about.
yeah,
And, you know, we used like a 90-day window of the road settling or not settling, and then after that, it's all taxpayer.
But it's a list 2 years later.
Well, some
Yeah,
places go to,
I-
some places go to winter, you know, they'll do a whole winter season before they'll release
Yeah,
that
yeah, hold it for a year.
for the winter, yeah, one whole winter season kind of thing.
I mean, we just got the Depot Street done. When we paid that,
It was a month later, I think.
look at
Yeah.
the road cuts we got into that.
yeah.
And no, actually, I drove over there just for fun the other day, like, this is
Yeah.
3 years later, they're not that bad, actually.
No, they're not.
So
But
sometimes it works out fine.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about that when Art called me, and he didn't want to cut the road, he just wanted to, and it's just,
Yeah,
I know I dealt with this.
Well, we have a practice between Mark and I of exploring options.
right.
So when somebody says, we want to do something, like a driveway, can you put that driveway where we don't need a town culvert? That kind of question. If you move it 40 feet this way, you're at the top of a rise and we don't need a culvert there. If you keep it where you're proposing it, we need an 18-inch. So we, you know, if it works for people, we try to get out of future maintenance. And that's what Mark's trying to do with this inspection services, is to have somebody there that if he can't get there, or if Roland volunteers for a couple, you know, whatever, if we can't do it somehow within the town system, then we can't have access to the paid person to go out and babysit the compaction. I'm not talking about testing, I'm just talking about method and means, you know, good materials in or like material goes in. Compactor is a good size compaction.
somebody's gonna
whatever.
Good compression.
Right, but, right, and you're gonna tell the contractor that and then go off and do a town project. You don't know if they actually did that or not. Of course, you don't hire the guy back, so they're tempted to do the right thing.
Right,
So that is a bonus of town. We're here for a long time if they want to keep working in town.
exactly.
And there's only, you know, 4 or 5, and, you know, contractors that regularly work in the village, so we know most of them, but.
Now, did the library get done?
I think
Don't
so.
know, I told her she was approved, I didn't hear any
I don't know
update.
if she's done it.
Because they're gonna go into it there.
We don't care there.
Yeah, that road's crappy anyway.
No, but I'm just saying.
It's a good example where we don't, it's,
Yeah.
the road is so decrepit. anyway.
Oh, yeah,
Right, you wouldn't need a deposit.
So anyway, back to the beginning, it's the village in town talking about these things, trying to resolve any kind of potential friction areas or unknown or just misinformation. And in this particular case, it was. We had a discussion about prefer not to cut a new pavement, what are the options, and if we're gonna do it, what are the
So
policy?
what the outcome come up there on Eden Street?
They were waiting for tonight's meeting.
Yeah, so we need to decide what we want to do for a policy.
So you either keep the current 165 and have Mark do it, and if you can't do it, it goes on the contractor. And it's really hard to get them back on these road cuts, because the landowner hired them, it wasn't a town project, it's usually a landowner that gets permission to cut the road. And then we just deal with it like historically, which is a decision, I mean, we just do it that way. Or you come up with this inspection services thing where Mark has the option of saying, I know I'm not gonna be here, but I want. You know, Doug Weber
yeah,
to be there or whatever, or we just take the surety thing and say, we'll return it if you guys are good at.
I think you do the surety, because I think it's impossible for any of the road guys to know if they can be someplace.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be almost a guaranteed setup of an engineer because the road guys are,
Yeah.
can't control the contractor's schedule.
Right, so I think it's better to go to get a couple of folks that you know could come when
Billy.
something's gonna happen, you can give them a
Billy,
call.
yeah.
Is that somebody that could come and check it and do
He's
that?
a retired engineer for the state.
Yeah, I think that would be the thing to do, is to find somebody to say, here's
Right
the,
there on the corner.
$500, and talk to somebody who'd be interested in doing that for us, and
Yeah, that's the alternate, so Mark can't do it.
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah.
somebody local that can maybe run out, and then Doug Weber can always come out, but he's the $150.
Well, that's right. That's somebody from far away, finding somebody.
Yeah, it's harder,
local
it's
that
more
can-
costly to
right,
go
that can
from
do
far
it.
away, but if somebody local could do it.
I think we're better to assume Mark can't do it. You just set it up as a.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if anybody has, if you have any
Yeah.
suggestions, Tyler Mumley and they have a, Minash has a new company, New England Consulting. Those are the two closest engineering, kind of, more so.
Tyler's great.
Yeah, either one of those could
He's-
potentially have a staff if we don't have a local sort of volunteer labor, we reimburse them, obviously. 'Cause
Right.
it's Be $100 per.
So what,
site visit.
what we need is a motion to. We're gonna establish this policy that. How do we want to go about doing this? We certainly want a record for it, right?
Yeah, I think it's an either or and maybe both. In other words,
Well, we're both. There, my
well,
kind of
either
policy.
we focus on that $500 and use it and return the balance. So we found somebody that could do it. And Mark says, I can't get there. Can you go? It's 2 hours from 2 to 4. They're gonna be out there putting the road back together. And then we send, that might be $100 or something, and then 400 goes back to the applicant. The other way is no inspection, and we just take their money and hold it, wait for time to go by, whatever that is.
Well, then you've got, you got young people that are starting in the village. I mean, that's an extra cost for them too. I mean, I think if we.
Right, because they're gonna pass that to the homeowner.
Usually it's the landowner.
Oh, yeah.
And that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like the 500. I think that's.
500
simple,
does sound
money. Find at least one person that can do it. If you talk with that would be great. If they're interested in doing it, if there are a couple of people. that can-
I mean, we're gonna know.
It's right
Oh,
there.
It's not gonna happen all the time either.
No, but it's not. And it's better than not having the answer for money.
Correct.
That's my,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to help them with is.
Yeah.
I don't need to drop
After
things.
retired now?
Say, Bill, look,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
same thing, it was the same with Dick Rogan, sort of the same idea that. We actually have a job description for that and everything. so
Right, right.
It's just
Okay, no, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
It
that's a
doesn't
good idea.
cost a lot of money.
all right, so the fee adjustment. Which only the select board can set our fees is to add $500 refundable. Engineering inspection or inspection services fee to the. 1111 permit when the, in case the road foreman can't do the final inspection. of the work.
Right, and then again, it's like with the library, and it doesn't,
We can say. it.
you don't have to, yeah, so it's not, it's
No.
really.
Well, the
road
fee will
foreman's
go
discretion.
He's, or the
Right.
assistant foreman can be there, or Blaine could be
Well, no, I
driving by.
mean, the
No, in
fee,
terms of, if
Like,
if we don't care about the road, you don't need
that
to
we
charge
don't
the fee.
need, so the
Yeah.
fee will put at discretion
Yeah,
Yeah.
of the road foreman.
of the
So,
road foreman.
Yeah, so he'll know the schedule of the reconstruction of the road. Know to call off the fee.
Yeah.
Waive it,
Got it.
or he'll charge it, we'll collect it as part of the complete application and return it if we don't need it. for
If we
some
don't
reason.
need it. Okay.
And, somebody like Bill or somebody that's local and sort of retired can do it for less than the town engineer. So you really want to have a couple people as an option.
Right.
But if the road crew can't do it. I think
And
we're just talking
500
about
to
staffing,
cover that.
staffing issue within
Yeah.
the town.
Yeah.
Because most town, a lot of big, just slightly bigger towns have a staff person to go do that when they care about it. Like,
But then we need to say, so if somebody's going to do that, we pay them $100 or just have what do we pay the person who goes to check it?
Well,
So
whatever
they're
the
gonna-
fee is. Let's say they probably have fees. I mean, they're all different,
Like
right?
Bill, yeah,
Well.
somebody, yeah.
Right,
Might be
Yeah,
by
so-
person, yeah.
by
We
person.
know what our engineering fees are, but we're trying to find that middle ground of. somebody-
500 should cover anybody to
Whether-
go there for 2 hours.
Whether it's an outside
Oh,
engineer.
Right.
How long are they hanging on to their money?
Well, until there's a final inspection approval by the town. The town has to do final inspection approval, which means all the inspections are done. And then any balance would be returned by the town clerk's office at that time.
Like,
Well, Mark has a sign, he has a signature saying approved. Mark French does on the back of the permit.
so.
And then,
That has to
and then it would go back, the money would get
Matter of
refunded.
days or matter.
It'll be when Mark signs off on that, we can process the refund. Yeah, we're not holding it any more than to get to final approval.
For the inspection.
Yeah, so the quicker, if they get a permit on day 1 and they're done on day 5. And Mark inspects it on day 7, we'll process that refund on day 8, you know, it's not a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Which helps, you know, money flow for the homeowner or the contractor, or whoever's putting that up.
Yeah.
But it still don't solve his problem. They're still gonna cut it.
Well, that's right. but
No,
it'll get
what
repaired.
I'm saying is he's agreeing to cut with the extra protection of the inspection. So he, you know, boring is preferred. If that's not possible, he agrees to cut, but he has to have that inspection because he's nervous about not having quality work.
I'm burning up my place all the way down through the van.
I don't think anybody inspected Route 100 when they put those cuts in.
Yeah, they did. I had a state.
No, I want, no, and by Lanford Farm.
Oh, land, when I did mine,
Yeah,
there was a state.
yeah, those are fine, I think.
I thought you said a statement.
State.
You said statement.
State aid.
I thought you made a statement. I'm like, you inspected those and made a statement.
I did. It was when Roger that was there.
Oh,
I can't remember if you had a motion.
I did not.
No.
We were talking, but we didn't say motion. I'll make a motion to
$500
change,
for
change the highway, or no, highway.
It'll be an inspection fee.
Road cuts.
Add a $500 refundable inspection fee
after.
at the discretion of the road foreman, of which the money will be returned to the homeowner if not used
At the
at
acceptance of work.
the acceptance of the work.
Second. Done.
It's not
Okay, we got Justin ripping out his hair now.
Did you get all that,
Just a little bit.
Justin?
I did, it's recording. I'm trying to go back and see, is that motion written in the staff packet here under number 9?
No,
You-
it's not in the staff packet. We just, might be close, but it's not exactly.
Okay. Can you say it one more time?
I'm making a motion to change the Highway 111 permits
Fees
fee
to include.
to include a $500 refundable inspection fee that will be at the discretion of the road foreman and will be refunded to the homeowner at the acceptance of the work if the money is not used.
Second.
Nailed it.
Okay. You know,
Thank you.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay.
Sandbag on that one.
Okay. I want to start. I want to start with a big piece.
Right there.
There you
No.
go, there's one for each of us. Yes, have another one. Here, pass another one.
Here,
Start with Ernie's.
you can look at the, I'll look at these and try it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
You hear last time when I read it, it's a flashlight. Flashlight for $500. That's ridiculous. And I
I'm
looked
looking behind on the emails.
and there was 5 of them for 100 and something.
Oh,
Okay. Flashlight for $500.
Better last a long time.
that's right. It better be huge.
Cool. Anyway. I spent most of the meeting with that.
Traffic report that Richmond's still locked down for the water. We can't, you gotta go to Williston to go home.
Do.
We leave the louder tomorrow morning.
You should be okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go to B9. We always go Hardwood.
Oh, okay, you won't.
Yeah, we took our camper Saturday.
Hardwick is closed right now.
Oh, yeah, the whole damn bridge thing is gone.
Yeah, it's
Where,
gone.
right after that quick stop.
Oh, man.
there's
Yeah.
nothing there.
Yeah, plus the
We
whole.
went over. No, not the city, but we went around at 5:30. I was like, this is okay.
Yeah.
And then the water's on the road. I'm like.
No way.
I'm getting stressed out.
Yeah, hey,
That was me with Ryan last night. I went with Ryan last night.
Who went down?
Huge.
My medicine there. I heard a car went down through there.
Oh, I don't know.
Somebody tried to go through that water.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
That's a scary place
That's
to
when they got
go.
more slow down.
No, who it was. How far they get down to the field?
I don't know.
The,
All the way. No.
I couldn't scan around.
Ben's was still as high late this afternoon as it was yesterday.
Wow, that Ryan pulled in there. I said, you have got to back out. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't in the water, but
Did you,
it was.
Yeah.
what was Savory's dumps?
I didn't even, and it's funny, actually, the call I got is, he called, because I know they stayed down, but their son Lucian was down there with them. But I can't, I mean, just looking at that water that was under the bridge. I went down to the bridge this morning, Katie's
bridge?
Falls.
Oh,
Okay, and the water was like 4 feet from
the bridge.
the bridge.
I've
From
seen
the,
it,
from
I've
the
seen it
furthest.
fixing that bridge.
Yeah,
Really?
well, apparently last night it was licking the bridge.
It must have.
So if you take that amount of water and I just go downstream, not that far down that road to Don and Leela, well, and at least he called, so there's no water,
Yeah,
right? You know,
Don canoed all the way from the power plant that time, all the way down through to the woods down there, the other side of his house.
yeah.
And then he was planting flowers in, and he had all of them started out in front of the barn,
Yeah,
and it picked them right up. All the things he had in the crates.
Yep.
Picked them right up and set them right back down when the water was down, there was no current at all. Set them right back down on the grid. Ask him about it.
It could be asking, you good, you with fair weather? I'm like, yeah, we live at Green Reservoir, if we go, you're all. gone."
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Canoe,
I think.
there, I can show you some, canoes down in Montpelier, right down the street.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. They are Montpelier and Barrett and Johnson.
It's been a year and. I know, million, that feels good.
I'm thinking that's this one.
Yeah.
Stop, get my license with a guy.
Oh, well, we were just gonna go tomorrow, and we have any places, and I don't think you're doing it tomorrow. There's water.
Usually made it part of the business.
She did or? Yeah, kind of. Okay. There,
Okay, so I'm looking to a,
Rolly's gonna make the motion.
okay, this is Rollis, right?
Rolly hasn't made a motion tonight
What's that?
for the warrants.
Make a motion to accept the warrants. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't here,
you just signed them.
yeah.
You're not here.
I was thinking about the last.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Sleep.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Did we win out?
Every time I got to sleep last night, the phone went off.
Oh, boy, I believe that, yeah. Oh, there's the.
We need, what is this?
This is from the village.
Oh, this is tomorrow night's meeting.
Well, this is just how the village, what the village is,
Part of that
How they-
communication improvement.
yeah,
Got it.
which we're gonna.
Just FYI, there's no.
Okay.
No, just so we know when they meet, but.
Got it.
Um.
There's
do you
two
wanna talk about
things.
underground tanks, pros and whatever? Whoop.
Hey, yeah, there's still two things that I have noted. There's the wage amendment needed for the motion that was made regarding Stephen. Yeah, so we need to do that, and there's also the hauling sand motion amendment. I have that all written out if you want me to say it.
I'm on the agenda, yeah.
Yep, okay.
This stuff.
Well,
Okay. I
When
mean,
we
we're
did
back.
last, when we were, anyway, I just went back and looked at what we'd done with Steve with his letter of hire. And what we were, because we were talking last time whether he gets the increase.
Oh,
whether
right,
he gets the
because
increase.
it should be after.
When we were going after the review, however, in his letter of hire, to get him to the salary, I mean, he left a $45 an hour job. So I just had completely forgotten. I had agreed that we were going to go ahead and add that 5% that when we added it to everybody else.
Oh, at July 1?
Instead of putting it right in the beginning. Which is
Oh.
just a little minor thing, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
how we decided to do it and how it worked financially better. So I just need to, yes, he's at that rate.
Maybe like a motion to amend the June 27th meeting minutes. Or motion made at the June 27th meeting to include Stephen McDonald in the 5%
Right.
pay increase.
Yeah.
Is there a first and a second to that, if you guys like it?
Oh, we need a motion?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. We do.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? Okay,
Oh.
Excellent.
she's doing a great job.
No.
I do not want to do this, Sam.
So we just need to change. We need to change our motion that we made last time. Justin? I'm
yeah.
confused about that.
For the hauling sand, is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah, so on the June 13th meeting, there's a motion made by Roland Bourgoin to have Mark French and Town Highway Department stop hauling sand for the summer of 2023. And then at the last meeting, the select board said, yes, he can haul sand when he wants to, but there was no motion to amend that. So to amend that motion, I blank move, we now reconsider our action relative to the June 13th, 2023 select board meeting minutes stating previous motion and change this motion to allow Mark French to haul sand at his discretion. If that's what you're trying to do as a select board.
Right. We were rolling, sorry you weren't here because Mark, and it ended up Ryan was here for something else, so we had both of them. And we just had you probably already have answers to a lot of the questions, but we certainly had lots of questions like, what's at the bottom of the sand pit and what's happening with salt. We had a really, it was certainly very educational and helpful to me about the sand and how big it really is and how much they use and how for them it works as a good little filler project periodically. And talking about, if they stockpiled more up there, what would happen to a stockpile out in the weather? So just said, oh, okay, we think we ought to just let you continue to do it the way you've done it. So.
Not in the form of a motion.
Well, we did, but we didn't do it right.
It was discussed, yeah.
Well,
We did a motion last week.
But yeah, because we
Or last meeting.
right, way back, because we said you should just stop hauling.
Right, the prior.
So now we need to have him not stop hauling. That's what we're trying to get to.
Right, there was discussion about doing that on the 27th of June to allow them to
Yes,
keep going, but
Right.
there was no motion on the 27th. I think
correct.
Well.
well, in the minutes, it looked like a discussion.
Oh,
Okay,
maybe
right,
we did.
Right,
So
Got it.
right.
you normally wouldn't have to do anything, but you had a prior vote.
Right.
So that's-
Changed your mind and
Mark's discussion on how they used it as a filler. And like when they're working, like if they are in the pit or driving by the pit, they grab a load of sand. Like they just kind of fill it in whenever they're up there, so they're never not loaded, right? Oh,
Well, yeah, right, and and again, sometimes they get to the day and the end of the project and they got an hour and a half left. And you can't start anything else big, so that's a
Right.
good time to
That
go
was the
and
other
do that
thing,
kind of
yeah.
thing. I remember talking about the rain, but I couldn't remember if that was a time to do it or not. Regular rain, not this kind of rain.
yeah, if they couldn't work, then they did that.
but we heard a guy here tonight talking about the ditching. And if we get rain like we got here the last few days, no, you can't ditch. But you can ditch in the rain.
Oh, no, this was, no, he's not gonna,
You can't-
he's only gonna do it as a filler. He's not gonna do it all
You have
day.
To get this ditching done, guys.
No, that's
Good luck.
Right, yeah, but no, but it was
That's right.
really,
Don't do it.
It's not getting done this year. I mean, we're still doing flood stuff. Oh, sure, we might.
yeah, we're not, I mean, we're a lot better off than most folks are. You know, but it was really just, it was using it as a filler.
And Matt made it clear that we didn't want to micromanage Mark, and he felt that Mark's been.
I was gonna say, I'd be.
Oh, you might have said that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you said
If
that.
somebody was telling me how to, I don't know, do my job.
And he's been doing it that way ever since he's been here, and it's worked, so.
But they can still take and stockpile the sand up there.
In the pit?
In the
Oh, we all agreed that wasn't a good idea.
That what?
Matt didn't like that either.
Because
That's
what
the one that
happens is it
sold
just.
us.
I've done it for years. What's wrong with it?
I don't know, because there's no salt in it. And then you gotta open up the pit and you gotta put the.
In the spring of the year, you're not. Okay, I'm not gonna argue this, but I'm not for it.
Right,
Because I'm telling you,
But you don't have to be.
I'm not gonna.
yeah, right.
I don't know. I wasn't here for the first meeting, so I don't,
I just
I
think
missed the big discussion meeting
that-
before.
they can fill it in March. They wouldn't run out of sand up there. We don't need a stockpile on top of the town garage. I've had more people comment.
Oh, that was the other thing. Mark said, any phone calls you get, you need to tell them to call him. And he'll talk to him about the road sand. He did say that.
Yeah.
We were supposed to tell you that, because you keep getting phone calls and no one ever knows who it is.
You,
So you need to give them.
want to say right here tonight.
Well, tell him to keep calling. But he did say that.
Yeah.
He did say that if people want to talk to him about hauling road sand, he'd be happy to talk to him.
Do what you gotta do.
So,
Anyway, so we're set, so
I'll make a motion to use it as a fill. I can't remember whatever it is. he said.
the motion, Justin, you said,
Yes.
because we have to amend.
Yeah.
now we have him not
And-
all doing sand.
Do you want me to say it again?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So I move we now reconsider our action relative to the June 13th, 2023 Select Board meeting minutes stating motion made by Roland Bavoin, but sorry to mispronounce your last name, to have Mark French and the Town Highway Department stop hauling sand for the summer of 2023, seconded by Matt Moran. And change this motion to allow Mark French to haul sand at his discretion.
Yes.
So you're staying not full time.
Correct.
well, just to let him do it the way he's done. it.
Yeah,
We're not, and again, his argument was that instead of doing it all, taking a week or 10 days or whatever it is to do it, that he just wants to use it as a filler. That's what he's done. So we've just gone, right, we just
at his discretion.
let him just do it the way he has done it.
They're not taking a week and doing it, like right now. Does that make sense?
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, that's right.
I second.
Oh, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And anybody abstaining? Okay. Now, I have to say, underground tanks, pros and cons. That's just one of the things that's been there that we.
No rush on that at 8:50.
Yeah, no, that's right.
We got
We,
a bunch of years on that, but we should be talking about it because next year the
Yeah, that's
warranty
right.
runs out.
The
That's all.
warrant- That's right. It's on the warranty thing.
So whether you do it sooner or whether you do it long term, that's the discussion.
I have been asked to extend an invitation to the select board on the 30th. It's a Sunday. The congregational church is in, if they're regular, it's the 9 o'clock service, but instead of a service is doing a meeting and inviting people in the town, not just members, but to come talk with us, and it's facilitated actually by the conference about what what community members would like to see a church be and do, and just suggestions about what it would be. Because we're getting ready to take the big dive and go for a full-time minister. So what kind of person, would we be looking for? What are the sorts of things? So, yeah. So if they, again, we're like inviting a lot of people from around town to come chip in to help us come up with, okay, here's the kind of person that we're looking for. Here's
That's a
what we'd
good
like
thing
to
to
see.
put on our Hyde Park page.
Actually, right, yeah.
Justin,
Yeah.
maybe you could.
Yeah, I'll talk with you, Justin, and get you to put it on so folks know that.
Yep, sounds good. That was, yeah, we can get more details on Thursday, but July 30th at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I'll send you an email about it. Okay?
Awesome.
That'd
Thank
be
you.
great. Okay, do we have anything else?
Oh,
I
and-
need a brief executive session for something.
And that was the second congregational church, correct?
Yeah,
What did she say?
it's, I had a conversation with, yeah.
Oh.
Conversation about that.
But no action item, I don't
No.
think.
No. Okay, we just need a brief executive session?
Personnel, right?
Yeah. personnel.
Oh, I
Right,
moved to
sorry,
go
right.
into
Yeah,
executive session
yeah.
to discuss the personnel matter.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay,
And
Now you
was
can
there a
do it.
second?
yeah,
Savannah second, okay. Stop recording here. Hold on a second.